Mortgage One Studios live with Russ Clark, and Dean's back with me. I get all confused on days now.
Yeah, because I've
Come
been coming in 2 days,
Come in
and
2 days, which
it's
is
fun,
nice.
but it takes time.
I know.
I mean, 3 hours. You're on for 3 hours,
Yeah.
and I figure about another hour and a half travel and prep and stuff, maybe more,
Yeah.
all depending. And so I figure about 5 hours.
I think I've been in here since 3:30.
Well, yeah, and you do more than me. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
because you're running everything.
And last night was a very successful GOP meeting, which I had to run that one because I'm first vice chair. Normally that just means I don't do anything, but with Bill's out of town. He's had some eye problems he's getting taken care of, and I enjoy it though. I like doing it.
Well,
I like sign me up. I'll do it.
I often I've enjoyed going to those meetings when I have, but I was busy doing work.
Yeah. Sometimes they're kind of dry.
Oh, they can be, sure.
I try not to make that happen, let that happen. But with Tanya Wright has been very active in helping. Now she's not on the executive committee or anything, but she's volunteered her talents.
I tell you,
to help do some organizing and get some guests in and stuff. And we had
she is a very high energy person.
Oh yeah, she is, and smart. We had Andy Beggs in last night. Governor.
Yeah, that's you said
governor candidate, I guess, or but I think he's. I don't think there's anybody close to him now that's running on the Republican ticket that's going to get close to that. So
you think he's likely to be the Republican nominee?
Oh God, yeah. And then the hurdle is beating an incumbent, which he's one of the most unlikable unlikable governors in the state of Arizona. In the country.
The country governor. Yeah.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean she can't win.
Right. No, correct. Exactly.
And in fact, most of the polls I look at would put her in the slight lead, but it's kind of difficult before the primary when she's running unopposed, and you've got
that's correct
a bunch of people vying for
and there's always the problem when you have a primary with a bunch of people in it, that you can expend a whole lot of resources in the primary, and then you don't have it for the general. I don't know if that's happening here.
I don't think so, because Robeson pulled out, and now Robeson was formidable, well funded, and name recognition, in the Phoenix area and all that, and she paused her candidacy a month ago or so, a little more than that, and that just left Andy. Those were the two at the front,
right? I'm trying to think. Did we have Robinson on the air on the radio at some point? I thought we did.
I have over the years. I didn't this year. Not in this last race.
Oh, okay.
I really haven't had many on at all. I haven't been doing a lot with since the AM signal has been down. I haven't really picked up the phone and called.
Sure.
Because I don't want to explain it to people.
Okay.
I'm like, well, we don't have
it.
And I know it's coming. So
mentioning primaries, I don't mean to steal your thunder, but we had the primary in Texas, and it appears to me that Trump won.
Yeah. Well, you're not allowed to say that because that's my job. No.
Well, I wanted to say it because yesterday I predicted that Paxton would win, and it was a blowout.
Yeah, but I don't think you needed a crystal ball for that. I think that was obvious that Paxton was going to win it, in spite of what
he had some baggage.
We all do,
right?
And he's going through a divorce right now. He's got that thing, and that's always you got to add some complexities,
yes,
to it. And in the last decade, I guess he's been impeached.
Well,
but not thrown out of office by all.
He won. In my opinion, it was a very strong lawfare against him.
Correct.
And when it got to higher court levels, they threw it out.
But the same with Trump, but they'd still say he was impeached.
Right. Exactly so.
Right. And so he's got that going on. And they say, you've committed felonies or something, but I don't even know what they are. They've never listed them. But he's not been arrested for anything.
Yeah, well, there was that case out of New York with Letitia James, where they sort of
that's Trump, though. I was talking.
That's I was talking about Trump. I thought you were too.
No,
So,
no.
yeah. it was,
No, but they have some. Maybe that's why Trump endorsed him. They got some similarities there.
Well, this lawfare has become a very prominent
Oh man.
weapon, much more so on the part of the left than on conservatives. And the reason that, in my opinion, why it's been more successful used by the left is because they used to have much more control over the narrative in the media.
And that's what they've got now is the judicial. And
Well, they're trying to use it. It's
they
just not
try.
working as it
Well,
used to.
no, except in the lower courts, and they handpick some, judges and stuff.
Yeah, no, correct.
And they go through and they say, well, Trump has lost, 70% of his cases or whatever. Well, at the lower courts.
Right.
Yeah, at the upper courts, like particularly get to the Supreme Court, he's like 27-1.
Right. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the lower courts where you can handpick a judge, or they have been, and they're not supposed to be able to do that, but they do it somehow.
That's not supposed the way it works, but with the communication and the data and analysis that's available to everybody now, there are ways you can make it happen.
Well, they've been doing that. Well, and to your original point, Paxton won, and right now, and it's not complete yet. The voting is not all been counted yet, but he's 27 points ahead right now. And of course, they've already conceded and everything. It's all,
I mean, 27 is a blowout. It's huge,
right? And that wasn't what the polling showed. The polling didn't.
It doesn't.
Polling didn't show it that way, and a lot of the Democrats, particularly, will point out that this James Telrico is polling better than Paxton slightly. It's like close in the general. So what? I mean, he beat the polling by 20 points on this.
Yeah.
So something's funny is going on.
There's a name for this phenomena, and
What
I've
is it?
forgotten it, where the polls say a certain thing and then it all goes one way because of a certain percentage, a large percentage of the voters either won't tell the pollster what they mean, but they'll vote the other way.
Right.
And I forget, there was a big race in California one time, and it got a name where the people just would either lie or not talk to pollsters because it wasn't politically correct for them to vote the way they were. So they just ignore the pollsters. And then when it came to the actual voting booth, do what they wanted.
Well, they would lie to the pollster so they didn't get doxxed or.
Right. So that they could sound the way the pollster wanted to hear.
And Spencer Pratt did
a
great commercial on just that subject. It showed three guys. Now it's all AI stuff. Three guys at a barbecue, and they're talking politics a little bit. They keep saying, about how things are going with the mayor's race. It says, well, I'm not MAGA. And they say that like 50 times. I'm not MAGA, but I think he might have some points.
Yeah.
Well, me too. I'm not MAGA, but I think, and they finally go, okay, on a count of three, let's say who we voted for. 1, 2, and one guy jumps up and says, Spencer Pratt. And they all say, yeah, Spencer Pratt. Yeah, we're going to do it. But they were really cautious because of the cancel culture.
Yes, exactly.
Cautious. And then they say, wow, we better hope our wives don't find out about it. They just start laughing, and then it went to the wives, and the three of them says, so we're all voting for Spencer Pratt, right? Yeah, of course.
There's
a
corporate thing that I was taught, many decades ago. And it was called a trip to Abilene, where everybody is going along, though they all oppose the doctrine or the policy. And they all go along because they all think everybody else wants to go along. But underneath it, they all oppose it. And all it takes is for one person to say the emperor has no clothes. And they go, oh, yeah, I agree with that.
But in the politics of today, it's so caustic. And in the left, particularly caustic, and we got poll numbers to back that up, as far as canceling people, cancel culture, not talking to you, kicking you out of the tribe.
Yeah.
Look in Hollywood. You can't be in Hollywood and say you're MAGA without some repercussions of like job losses.
Right. I read an essay this morning about people talking about the blacklist, the supposed blacklist of communists back in the 50s.
We're back there.
And the fact is, that was very small and mostly justified.
Well,
And it's much worse afterwards for people who are not on the left.
but and I remember reading and seeing some documentaries on that era, and everyone was so scared of communists. Everyone was so much in the bandwagon, is the communists. But it seemed to just flip on a dime. All of a sudden, it was like this has gone too far, and
Right.
and they backed off.
Well, they didn't just back off. A whole bunch of the people who were actual communists, who were affiliated with the Soviet Union, became extremely prominent and very powerful. And it became in Hollywood that if you're a conservative, you couldn't work.
Right. Oh, is
Just
that when that turned?
exactly the
And,
opposite.
and who was the congressman that was pushing that whole deal? I forget his name.
Oh,
He was very famous. In
yeah,
fact,
you're
they named the
talking
movement after him.
about McCarthy. in
McCarthy. That's
Wisconsin.
what McCarthyism. In fact, that's what they called it, McCarthyism.
But if you look factually at what McCarthy said and what he
Yeah.
alleged, he was right.
Well, he was the Pied Piper. Everyone was following his lead on it for a long
That's the
time.
way it's portrayed.
And now we say McCarthyism as a
Pejorative.
yes, it is. You don't want to be that. And I think the same thing's happening a little bit now. In fact, Spencer Pratt's running on that whole thing that this anti-MAGA thing has been crazy.
It is.
Canceling it's been crazy. And a lot of the people on the left have been called for. I mean, leaders, some radicals, maybe even that, if you see them in a restaurant, don't let them eat peacefully. Don't let them sleep peacefully. Maxine Waters, even Nancy Pelosi at times and stuff.
And it's this complete lack of introspection. I mean, I am calling for everybody who is MAGA to be ostracated from society,
Right.
ostracized.
Yeah.
And but see, I'm very, very tolerant. I tolerate everybody except MAGA.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tolerant crowd.
I'm
exactly.
super tolerant of everybody who agrees with me.
Yes. That has been the left as of recent. That's been it.
For a long time, actually, I think.
And they really do cancel you. I mean, they won't talk to you. They'll push you out.
But in reality, they're a minority in the country. I don't think those people are even 20% of the country.
And they're losing, not in huge chunks, but it's constantly losing.
Well, yes, I think so. And in my opinion, the key to this is that they no longer control the media. They no longer have a unified narrative.
That's a big part of it. And that's changing the attitudes out there. The people are changing the attitudes a little bit.
Well,
and that's why they're re-registering as Republicans.
Well, I think that's part of it. And I was on a discussion with somebody the other day, and I was putting forward some of this, and they said, but does Spencer Pratt have ads on TV? And I'm going, who watches TV anymore?
Yeah. Do they still have that?
Yeah, I think it is a thing. And I'm thinking, but people, it's only a small portion of people that watch what we used to think of as TV.
And a lot of these ads for Pratt are not even his. It's other people doing.
And they're on YouTube
sketches.
and on X.
Yeah.
And that's where the action's at, as far as I can see.
He's got some real talented people that are doing these things, putting them together. And
well, like you said, they're not even directed by him.
No.
A lot of these are just essentially they're spontaneously coming up because people are so frustrated with what has happened.
And these kind of things, really, the right are very good at it for some reason. They're very good at it. The left, when they try to retaliate and stuff, suck at it. And in fact, they did one to try to get back at Spencer Pratt. Somebody did an AI, somebody Democrat. And
it backfired.
Oh, huge! Because they were saying, "Well, that Pratt, he doesn't like illegals. He'd like them not to come into the country and stuff, or immigrants and stuff."
And people are saying,
and people are saying, like, "Is this a commercial for Pratt? What is this?" Yeah, he would hire more police officers.
I have a theory about this, about the people who are more conservative having a lot of talent this way, because they weren't allowed access to mainstream channels and money. So they had to develop.
But now it doesn't take money.
Right. Exactly. Exactly correct.
Take money. You can have a big impact if you can go viral.
One guy, Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I mean, amazing. And that's where it's at. You don't have to have this large organization. You don't have to have the backing of the government.
Yeah.
You don't have to have $100,000
And-
salary for your hairstylist.
And you could become the most famous journalist overnight, like that Nick guy did with the Somalia thing.
Yeah. Right.
See, he's famous. We don't even know his name.
Yeah. Well, a name popped into my head and I immediately knew it was wrong. So I did not go.
I saw his Nick. But he's become.
I was going to say Fuentes, but I don't think.
No,
sure that's wrong.
I'll get it.
Yeah, he's from
if I type in
Minneapolis,
Nick, it's gonna come up.
And what he did is not expensive. It's not. It takes a little courage. You know, you have
Nick
to have
Shirley,
and you have to have some. You know, you have to have some guts.
He's 23 years old, and he did something that these tens of thousands of professionals couldn't do.
No, they weren't willing to do it.
That's why
they all had the ability.
No, they couldn't because they're not willing.
Because
they work in a program that wouldn't allow it anyway. They would have not aired it. So they couldn't do it.
Exactly correct. And I think I told the story that I had a close friend of mine, journalism major, made a career of it, got to a major media in Minneapolis. Now this was 30 years ago, and quit. I mean, and it wasn't because he didn't like his work. He loved it, but he quit because it was so biased. He could not get a story critical of Democrats out, but he could get all the stories critical of Republicans out he wanted.
But he can quit because there's going to be 30 progressives wanting that job.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
And
we got their thick.
I've seen this, when in the Second Amendment firearms stuff, people who were sympathetic or looking at the Second Amendment, through more strictly constitutional grounds, their careers started faltering. Yeah. They didn't get advanced. They didn't get promoted.
I got to get back with this Ken Paxton story.
Yeah,
I want to finish some of it, but Paxton's going to face off against Representative James Tallarico, and they label him in this article as a rising star in the Democratic Party. This guy is vulnerable to me, and I think he would be in Texas. Wouldn't be vulnerable in California, but he's the one that came out and said Jesus is
binary
and all that stuff. He just but it's all on video. He's not denying it either. I mean, it's nothing that he's trying to separate himself from. Like that Graham Plattner's trying to separate himself from his past. Oh no, Tallarico's embracing it all. He's a radical, and he beat Jasmine Crockett.
Well, she's pretty far left too.
She's crazy left, and but entertaining. Tallarico's not even entertaining to me. Maybe that's why they think he's serious, and he's a rising star. And they're wrapping arms around him. And he raised $27 million.
Yeah, but
in just a few months.
And so where's the money coming from? I'm wondering.
I don't know.
I mean, I suspect it's from far left billionaires.
Ken Paxton,
or maybe China,
had to do an acceptance there. He's let me talk about Cornyn first. He spoke to the reporters after the race was called, and he says, "I've always supported the Republican ticket, and I intend to do so again in this general election." Which is very I'm relieved to hear that.
I'm glad to hear it.
I mean, that makes me, elevate him a little bit, because there's been a lot of sour grapes.
Yes.
Which is more normal of,
Well, it's the way you expect people to react.
Yeah. Ken Paxton, on his victory speech, I want to thank John Cornyn for his service to the state. John has dedicated much of his life to serving Texas. He's worked diligently for years to help Texas. And for that spirit of service to the Lone Star State and our nation, I am grateful.
Good. Yeah, I like it. That was a well phrased.
That's the way these things need to be done.
Well, exactly.
Right away.
Exactly. That's correct. So I give Cornyn some credit.
Yeah.
So and I'm not a big Cornyn fan.
And Paxton, because Cornyn did say nice things about him. Paxton says we need to come together as a Republican Party. I think John Cornyn will be part of that. I think his voters will be too. Wow.
Positive. Good.
Hey, if we'd had that in the state of Arizona for governor, we wouldn't have Hobbs.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right.
That's exactly what happened. The vote got split, and we got
Hobbs.
Hobbs.
Because Carrie Lake, made enemies, and those
Yeah,
enemies
she
went.
was indelicate.
Republican enemies went against her.
Yes, yes, I remember that.
And made sure that Hobbs got in and not Carrie Lake.
And
Really,
I'm going.
really crazy.
I remember practically screaming in my head, "Don't do this, you idiots!"
Yeah. Yeah, people didn't, there were some people that had a problem with her. Even if she would have run the state much better, even if she was a conservative, I still don't like her. So I'm going to let Hobbs destroy the state.
Well,
and it serves you right.
Yeah, it is a sour grapes kind of thing. That's what I thought. And from my perspective, it seemed, well, if you won't let me be in charge, pull down the temple.
There won't be a state for anybody.
Right.
Exactly. Now Trump got behind Paxton in a week before the election.
Yeah, it was very right before.
Well, and I think that was a whole negotiation with John Thune. John Thune very much wanted Cornyn to win. Very much wanted Cornyn to win.
Yeah, well, Cornyn is a big Thune ally, I've heard.
And Thune was holding up, the Save America Act.
Right.
So Trump was not taking sides, and I'm assuming that had something to do with it.
Well,
most people
there was an actual statement by Trump where he said something to the. I'm not sure. I can't say that for certain, but that it was Trump. But the word was out. If you pass the SAVE Act, I'll endorse Cornyn.
He did say that.
Okay,
I'd forgotten.
Then they didn't pass it.
Right.
Well, FO.
But he gave it more lip service after that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he gave it a lot of lip service. What do you want from the guy? Results?
Yeah. Trump is a results guy, definitely.
Yeah, he is. Trump called Cornyn very disloyal during that time.
Right.
When he backed Paxton and all that stuff.
So now I'm saying he's probably praising Cornyn for his service and saying,
I hope so.
That's that. And Trump does that.
Of course.
He does it very effectively because he understands how to get things done.
But Trump's success right now is really huge. Now, he just purged, and this article says purged 5 state senators in Indiana's primary. Now, Indiana had Republican senators in the state senators in Indiana that did not support the redistricting.
Right.
That killed it.
Correct.
And Trump says, I'm going to primary all of you. And all of them lost.
Yeah.
Now that's big guns, buddy.
Yeah. That is a big stick.
Yeah, it is.
And where previously the thing that I understood most elected officials feared the most was the media. They feared being demonized in the media.
Yeah, you better fear Trump more than the media.
Now it's Trump. The Republican Party.
And that's thanks to Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah.
Who saved social media.
Well, he saved the country as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. But these
but it wasn't Musk alone. You have to give Musk and Trump both credit.
No. But these 5 state senators happened after he ousted Bill Cassidy from Louisiana.
Yeah.
And who 5.5 years ago voted to convict Trump in an impeachment trial. And
Cornyn also didn't. Cornyn vote against him too?
He voted against it, but I don't think it was at the impeachment trial. No.
I'd have to check it out.
But and then there was Tom Massey in Kentucky.
Right.
He sent down the road. So that's Trump with Massey, but
of course
the 5 senators with Cassidy, and now with Cornyn.
Now they're all still in power until January of next year.
They're lame ducks,
but lame ducks still vote.
Yeah, and some have gone back and flipped. I think that was Cassidy that did that, or Massey, or one of them that was supporting Trump on an issue. As soon as they lost, they went back and flipped their vote just as a thumb in the eye. It wouldn't have made a difference anyway. It wasn't going to pass. It might have been on the SAVE Act.
Massey has a bill that I think is going to pass. That I'm watching a little bit because I think it's so obvious. I think it'll pass because people on both sides want it to, and it's a very simple bill. It's passed the House already, by the way, unanimously by voice vote.
Well, Massey's in the House,
right?
Oh, okay. What's the
bill is called? I'm gonna get the title off, but it's something like the Nix Reporting Act, and what it is in the National Instant Background Check System, where you go into a gun store and then they put into they call up or put it into the computer and say, is this person allowed to purchase a firearm?
Right.
They collect, there's a 4473 form that you fill out, and it has all kinds of demographic data on it. Like, are you black, white, green, red, whatever, are you Hispanic or not?
Yeah.
And
Have you
are you
claimed
male,
mental
female,
illness or
all
anything?
that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, people have tried to find out what the demographics are of people who
Purchase guns?
fail the checks.
Oh, fail it. Okay.
And the FBI won't tell anybody about it. They refuse. And so this bill says that the Attorney General will report to the Congress. They'll send a report to the Senate and a report to the House. I would think it'd be the same report, telling what the details of all this is.
Well, I think the detail that's important is why they were denied.
Well, that's also in there.
Okay.
And then
I mean, if you're a felon and you're denied, that's all they need to know. Why would they need to know what race of a felon?
Because John Lott has done a bunch of research on this, and he says most of the people who get failed, it's false positives, that they're not failed because they have a felony. They get failed because their name sounds similar to somebody who has a felony.
I have heard of that. I didn't think it was very. I didn't think it was very common though.
Well, it's more common for groups that have a lot of similar names, like Hispanics or like black people,
like Rodriguez or something.
Yeah,
really?
Well, yeah, and so this is what Lott has postulated. This bill is to sort it out and find out.
And I don't have a problem with that. That's legit.
And
I thought they were going like, well, this race doesn't get as many firearms or gets denied more or something.
Well, we will find out.
Okay.
And if the bill passes, we'll find out. But I find it kind of extraordinary that all this information's there, but nobody is allowed to see it.
Well, same with there's a lot of stuff like that, like your hospital records.
Yes, but we're not talking. Hospital records explicitly have in them a disclaimer saying this can be used for research in aggregate. And that's what we want.
But no names.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
No names, no social security numbers, no specifics. We just want the statistics.
Okay.
And I think it'll pass because everybody will say, well, why shouldn't we see them?
Well, then that's fine. Then we'll do it. And so that's
Massey.
That's Massey was doing that. Well,
and I thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, hey, good. Do something good on the way out, Massey, but you're defeated.
Right. Exactly the point I was trying to make.
Trump on Tuesday when he backed Paxton, he said Ken is a true MAGA warrior. Which in a lot of circles, when you say MAGA warrior, that's going to get you thrown out of the party.
Well,
you're not allowed.
Maybe 30% of the country, I'm thinking.
It was always delivered for Texas and will continue to do so in the United States Senate. When everyone in Washington told him to abandon me and abandon the people of Texas, he didn't listen.
Right, that's true.
And Cornyn did. Cornyn jumped on that bandwagon. In fact, even voted to have him impeached.
What did I say?
Yeah, Paxton on right after he won, he just talked about James Tolrico. He got off of that, and that's smart.
A smart politician.
He says it's a threat to everything we hold dear in this state and this country. He's a threat to our security, our safety. He wants to open borders, which is true, and even said a welcome mat should be at our southern border. He did. James Tolrico doesn't belong in Texas. We don't send him here. We cannot let him in the center of the state let him be the center of the state of Texas. He fits in California. Does not fit here. I think we're going to try and highlight what he actually believes because the people of Texas need to know what his views are and whether they are going to support those views. The only way where they can know that now is he's really about to let people know what he said. And that's all fair. And I hope there's debates and that all comes up.
Yeah.
And he's not denying it. I don't think Tolrico's denying anything. So it's not.
I hope not. And I don't think he will because
he's not like Plattner who's like, well, I was a different person then, and all that stuff. But this article also points out Paxton's messy divorce on biblical grounds, which I think they have alluded to that it's probably a relationship somehow with another woman.
And You know, what can I
And
say?
and Telrico's posting those things now on Paxton. Now, and the difference between the two, Paxton is talking about how
Issues.
James Telrico's going to manage and how he's going to govern.
Right.
Telrico's talking about his personal life.
See, I
which-
think the left is making a real error here, and you don't want to stop your opponent.
Stop telling them.
And the left thinks that because you're a Christian, you won't vote for somebody who sinned.
Well, I bet that's because they don't know about Christians.
Exactly.
Forgiving is
Well, and we know that everyone sins.
but one.
Yeah, there you go. But I mean,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is so.
But and there's a difference between a sin and a continuous list of sins that aren't never going to stop.
This
But
is
that's
true.
part of the someone's motor Honda, how they operate or something. And it doesn't seem to be Paxton, although they do point out he had 3 felony counts for investment fraud, which I guess he was reported to the FBI by his own staff for bribery, but he was
I think
found
he
not
was
guilty of that.
exonerated in
Exonerated of
that.
that. Now he's a Republican nominee. Together we will stop him, and this is what Telrico's campaign's doing.
I think people on the right, and we can dispute this is true or not, that they believe the country is in crisis, and we need strong men who are willing to do hard things to right the ship. That kind of describes Trump,
Paxton,
and I think that describes Paxton too.
Paxton's from that cloth.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he does. He does the hard things, even as Attorney General.
Speaking as a Christian, because the left seems to think that it can somehow divide us by saying Christians wouldn't support this person. Yeah, a whole lot of people in the Bible who did amazing things were strong, hard men that had lots of problems in their personal lives.
Yeah. Yes, very much. A lot of them, including Trump.
Well, he's not in the Bible, but
yeah. Oh yeah, well, he's not in the Bible that I know of.
But I mean, you look at these. They had problems.
When Trump backed Paxton last week, he came out and said, John Cornyn is a good man, and I worked well with him, but he was not supportive of me when times were tough. John was very late in backing me in what turned out to be a historic run for the Republican nomination and then the presidency. Cornyn emphasized that President Trump has called me a friend and a good man, and we've worked with him closely for both terms of office. So it sounds like...
Well, that makes sense once you've won.
Well, he's saying it now that Trump backed Paxton even.
Oh, was that
Cornyn? Cornyn said that.
Oh, well, I
said
misunderstood.
that.
I thought
I'm
it was
sorry.
Trump saying it.
Yeah. Paxton said John Cornyn fought Trump on the border, and you go back over a decade and see that he was not for the border wall.
Yeah.
And that was an interview before the election, really.
Well, right. No, I see this, I think we both do, as these politicians have decided to be smart instead of stupid.
So, and Paxton points out that he didn't back him in 2016. He didn't back him in 2024. And Cornyn says, I don't know how much more with him I could be than 99.3% of the time. I don't know how he comes up with a 99.3, but it sounds like...
Well, you can always find some group that gives you a good rating.
It's got to be, I think that means he voted or something.
It's probably votes and a whole lot of,
But when you fought the guy for re-election, those are pretty deep wounds.
I've looked at these vote totals, and politicians are very good at ginning up all kinds of votes that have almost no meaning. And then they can say, see, I voted.
Yeah. Cornyn says, I want him to be successful. I want America to be successful. I want Republicans to be successful. But at the end, as I said, Texans are the only ones be able to make a choice. And I think Texans can be pretty independent. Now, that's Cornyn before the election.
Yeah.
Thinking he still had a chance. What I'm interested in where it's going to go is John Thune. Now, John Thune closed the Senate down, went home, and there was apparently some screaming stuff with some other senators about the SAVE Act and some other things.
Right.
I don't know where we stand on that, but John Thune said he's gotten more and more emboldened as he's gotten away with all the scandal and mischief. And now that's very well known. But were he to be the nominee and to be exposed to the general election voters, especially independents, I think it's going to be a very rocky time. He's talking
Is he talking about Paxton?
about Paxton.
Okay.
Yeah, that was before he won.
Yeah. Okay.
That wasn't
and
after.
One huge. I mean,
Yeah, one huge.
28%.
But Thune's he's angry. He's angry at Trump.
Thune is.
Thune is, and he's still the president or the Senate Majority Leader anyway. He's
Right.
the president of the Senate.
I mean, this doesn't surprise me too much because when you are trying to reform everything because things have gotten so bad, you have to go against the established order. And Thune is about as established order as you can get.
I think his popularity in the entire country has really taken some hits.
Oh, yeah, but what does he care? He's there.
I guess. And he thinks, you're just going to keep doing status quo. We senators all get reelected.
Well, it's like 2 or 4 years before he's up for reelection.
Doesn't matter. This will follow him. I think if he cares. I don't know if he wants to be reelected.
No, I mean,
he's not that old. I don't think.
I don't know how old Thune is. I don't know. But he is acting
now
as what I would call a deep state supporter. We got 80% of the people in the country who want the SAVE Act.
I think it's higher, but yeah.
Okay, and he opposes it.
I know.
Why? Because it's against the established order.
They want the uniparty status quo type stuff. Cornyn, before the election, said there will be an incredible tsunami of Democrat funds coming in against Paxton were he the nominee. Conversely, if I'm the nominee, we'll be able to shoulder the burden pretty much on our own. I won my last general election by 10 points. I think I can do similarly against somebody who's as far left as a radical James Tolrico. Well, you couldn't beat Paxton by 10 points.
Right.
You lost by 28.
Right. I mean, he said that, and that's where it appeared to me that Cornyn's approach was, I can beat the Democrat better than Paxton can.
That, I think, is a bad idea.
Well, but what it shows is that
you got nothing else.
Right. And now that Paxton has won the primary in such a decisive way, the people who voted for Cornyn, if they were doing so in order to beat the Democrats, they're still going to vote for Paxton.
Yeah, especially the way Cornyn's handling it. Unlike in Arizona when Kerry Lake won.
Correct.
We had Republicans sabotaging her.
Yes, I remember it. And
you know who they blame for that? They blame her.
They do, and she has some blame there because she was indelicate in the way she did some things.
What about the big picture? What about that? We want a Republican.
I agree with you, but I mean,
it's too late.
It is.
But I'm glad to see we're not reliving that in Texas. They're a little more mature.
Well, they have a little more information,
and believe me,
they have Trump in power. We did not have
the angst between Cornyn and Paxton is just as great as it was between Kerry Lake and the other Republicans.
I agree, but you're right. They have it a lot better there.
Yeah, and I hope we can follow that from.
And I think we've got like 4 years of history there difference, where we have the public has been educated more.
Yeah, the Graham Plattner. I begin to think he may not make it. I don't know. Right now, he's leading the polls.
You're talking about in Maine, right?
In Maine, and he's running against an incumbent, Susan Collins. Now, I am not a huge Susan Collins fan.
Neither am I. But
I if I was in Maine, I'd vote for her.
I would too,
because I would throw aside those problems.
Because
oh God, not Susan Collins.
Because she would be so much better than Plattner.
Well, not only that, she keeps the majority.
Well, that's all part of what I'm saying.
All of that.
We're on the same page.
And Plattner, he's a Nazi, and I never throw that term around. Well, he's got it tattooed on his chest.
Yeah,
you tattoo it on your chest. It's fair game.
I would say, and I've made this analogy many times. What the current Democratic Party has become is they are essentially fascist. Yeah. They would dispute that because they say, well, we're not racist like no, but your policies are fascist.
I think they're racist.
Well, they are. They're racist against Jews and white people.
Well, they accept some races and don't others. That's racist.
Yeah, it is. It's just different groups this time.
When you can't walk around and say race doesn't matter, you're a racist.
Exactly. And that's why the recent Supreme Court decision saying you cannot stop racism by being racist is so important.
But they didn't understand it. They go,
Well,
what?
no, woke is right up front. They say,
But our racism's good.
right. That's exactly what they say. They say you
Oh.
combat past racism with current racism, which of course is nonsensical.
Because that cancels out the other racism. No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
It continues that racism.
Right.
But Susan Collins may or may not be in trouble. I don't know. This Graham Plattner makes so many bad decisions and goes forward.
We'll have to wait till the election to find out, I think.
Let me see. He says that he's going to unseat Collins in November. And he made that remark during a fighting oligarchy rally led by Bernie Sanders. We got to
so funny.
fight the oligarchy.
When they are the oligarchy. It's so funny.
Well, yeah, it's fun to fight something mythical that doesn't exist.
No,
I guess.
no, I disagree.
You think
it does exist?
The oligarchy?
It's just that they belong to it.
Okay. I don't think it exists like it does in Russia. I mean, they don't have that kind of power here.
Well, when you have a huge number of very powerful people that support a particular party and try to censor the opposition and and have been very successful in controlling government for a long time.
The left has been villainizing now villainizing particularly billionaires. And
they have
and wants to go after them, but yet you still got billionaires supporting it.
Huge number. I mean,
do they have
many more billionaires support the left than support the right?
Yeah.
The Democratic Party is the party of the wealthy.
Yes, it is. It is. And they talk all this rhetoric, but they support the billionaires. Even though they're fighting the billionaires, they support them. It was an event aimed at and here's Plattner in it's Portland, Maine, not Portland, Oregon, mobilizing progressive activists and expanding grassroots organizations ahead of the whole thing. And gubernatorial candidate Troy Jackson, I don't know anything about him, but he's part of that far left crowd. And Plattner really went into the anti-corporate rhetoric, telling crowd cheering. They must build a political revolution, take back what is ours. I mean, that's Marxism type talk.
It is. Now, here's something I'd seen a story or two, and I don't have it here to cite. Maybe you've heard of some of it too, that a lot of the funding for much of the far left comes from China.
Yes, I have heard that. But it comes in small donations, so they don't have to report it.
Right. So it's hard to trace.
Well, I know there's supposedly some government officials trying to look at that because they get so many more small donations than the Republicans, like a huge number. But of course, that's a pride for them. They say, see, we have much smaller people. We have a lot of smaller people. But when they knock on doors and they say, well, I say you give 30 times to this person, I've never given anything to anybody. I mean, when they do try,
there's a lot of indicators of monkey business.
But it's anecdotal. It hasn't been, as far as I know, really researched. I don't know.
I have, I've read a number of different pieces.
But to me, it's like a Nick Shirley. You knock on a door and you get those things and it doesn't go viral. I was like, really? Shouldn't somebody look into that?
Well, I think they are.
I mean, how does your name randomly show up that you're a big donor to the Democrat Party and you've given $10,000 over the last few years? And some guy saying $10,000. I've never given him a dime,
Yeah, right.
But it's all been in $20 increments.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's a way for people, for major groups, for power struggle or power players outside the U.S. to influence American politics.
Right. If it's happening, and that's just the accusation at this point.
Well, we have a fair amount of evidence that it is happening. It's a question of how much and can you prove a particular.
If it's evidence, it should go to a court because it's illegal.
Well, I suspect maybe it will.
The Plattner said we're taking back what is ours. We're going to take it back from the corporations that seek profit, no matter the cost, from the billionaires for whom greed is the point, and from corrupt politicians like Susan Collins, corrupt politicians who have sold us out. It's a system that is the policies of Susan Collins, a politics that turns politicians into millionaires. But tells you to be grateful for crumbs. I mean, he's
This is so odd because it's exactly what we see on the left. Look at all the fraud in Minneapolis, for example, or all the fraud in the AID programs where billions, tens of billions of dollars were stolen.
It's a Marxist speech.
It is. It's precisely that. And the idea is this thing that tends to be kind of ingrained in human psychology, that the economy is a zero-sum game. If some person gets more, another person has to get less, but that's not the way reality works anymore.
And he says he's accusing health insurance executives of lining the pockets with our blood, sweat, and tears. Of course, that's open season just to kill insurance executives, which has done. Who was it? Luigi did that, and he was cheered by the left.
Yeah,
he's getting
if you want to see where this type of rhetoric and logic goes, just go to Cuba.
Yeah.
They have no power. They have no food. They don't have any medical care, except you'll get to lie on a bed and your relatives can pay for antibiotics.
Now, Sanders took the stage after Plattner and made something that was, I think, a true statement. He said, you elect Graham Plattner as senator, you're going to transform America. True. Well, transformed it into a Marxist communism country.
Where things don't work.
Yeah. Sanders says, I introduced legislation, which Graham will be by my side in fighting for, which says that we are going to impose a 5% annual wealth tax on 938 billionaires in America. Are you kidding me? Now, you go to a billionaire that has $100 billion worth of assets and say, you have to pay me $5 billion in taxes this year. It doesn't mean he has liquid assets. It means that he owns a business that's got a value if he were to sell it. Where are you going to get the $5 billion to pay the tax? Sell your business? And who's going to buy it if you have to be a billionaire to do it and you're busy paying all your taxes?
No, you're correct. Again, this is part of this whole zero-sum game. The fact is that we have a structure where property is protected and we have a rule of law, people like Elon Musk can build the most successful and productive companies in the history of the world, and everybody benefits because of it.
Out of those 938 billionaires, I don't know who they are. They probably know who they are. I mean, how fast can they transfer all those funds offshore and do businesses in another place?
Pretty fast.
Pretty fast. Like amazingly fast. And who loses? We all do. Yeah, because then that's where the innovation goes, the jobs goes, and everything else. He also portrayed as an ally in battling major tech companies such as Elon Musk. We want to battle Elon Musk.
Oh, wow.
And
He's
Mark
really,
Zuckerberg warning that a handful of billionaires could otherwise control the future of artificial intelligence and robotics. Yeah, we'd be so much better with Graham Plattner controlling it, right?
Or China.
Or China. Or,
I mean, China is going full bore.
Why don't we just put Bernie Sanders in charge of AI?
I'm sure that the Chinese would love that. I mean, Musk was very strong for controls on AI.
He was.
Until he said, look, it's just not working. We're not going to be able to do this. We have to get on top of it. Since we can't prevent it, we have to be on top of it.
Right.
Which makes perfect sense to me.
And we better be ahead.
Correct. That was it. I read an article about opposition to a data center, and it might have been in California. I'm not sure. And I wish I had the site in front of me, but I don't. And it traced back the funding of the groups who were against the opposition to the data center, and the funding was coming from China.
I've heard that many times, and I've heard it from other people that know, but I don't know how much research has been done about any specifics. So
this article was pretty specific.
I'd like to see some of it, but because some of it would be manipulation of our country, and it would be objectionable and probably actionable. So I think they'd be as stealth as they can.
Well, this is pretty recent, so maybe there are actions going to be taken.
Maybe because Andy Biggs, our presumed
the governor,
at least he will be on the Republican ticket.
Republican candidate for governor. Yeah,
he talked about that last night. It was a question. It was there were some people asking questions, and that came up with the data centers because it's a hot topic and it's probably one of the more misunderstood. before I get into what Andy said, I just happened to read an article this morning that said that 50% of the proposed data centers in this country have either been canceled or delayed because there's been a big movement coming up. And like you said, a lot of it has been funded by dark money, presumably from people like China and stuff.
Well, it reminds me a
that wants
lot
to
of the anti-nuclear movement.
and the data centers, of course, do a lot more than just AI, but they actually house the cloud and all that kind of stuff. When things go out on the cloud and all that information's out there, it takes the data centers to hold that information, and they know the data centers is full when it won't take any more. Apparently, they don't have a gas tank level on it about when it's full or how much more information it can handle. So if they don't keep building them to handle all the activity, which is growing exponentially, we could see some kind of problems with our access to cloud information and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, he talked about it and he said, "Look, here's the history of them." And he talked about the heavy water use. He talked about the heat. He said, "Look, when I do my laptop in the wintertime, I like to sit on my lap. It keeps my legs warm." Well, imagine that times a million, laptops or something,
Right.
because all that's up there just to give an illustration of the heat that's generated. And it's true, it is. And but unlike a car engine's like that. It produces heat. I wouldn't put it on my lap, though. It's a little hotter than a laptop.
Well, yeah, it's
But
basic thermodynamics.
right,
You
and
always have a little bit of waste heat,
we have a lot of waste heat in
and
this
for
country.
a internal
So
combustion engine, it's a huge amount.
so we
For electric motors, it's a lot less, but it still exists.
so
And
he
for electronics,
but
the
he
same way.
he talked about the cooling of it and the history of the cooling and water, has been a go-to for a lot of them
Oh yeah,
and the use of
absolutely.
water. He also talked about the power and the lack of power in some places and the crowding out of the power that has gone on with those things. And he talked about choosing a right site. You don't want to put it in a commercial area where it's going to crowd out commercial business and stuff, which makes sense. It goes into industrial areas or areas that have lots of space or something.
Sure.
All those make sense. Now it sounded like he was like, "Well, I'm dead set against data centers," but then he talked about the data centers that recycle the water and reuse, or that have circulatory, closed systems that don't have it, and they're putting in their own power. And he thinks that these pocket nukes are the future, that these data centers are looking to invest in these things, and they would actually be selling power back to communities at cheaper rates, which is what was going to happen in Virginia that was canceled, is they were putting in a power plant that was going to sell back at a cheaper rate to the
Right.
to the people. And of course, the one in Virginia that was canceled was also was a closed system. It wasn't water. It was a gel of some kind that didn't have to be replaced for 8 years, and it was recyclable and
I
all that stuff.
I read an article that was supposedly an expose
Yeah.
where they talked about a huge tunnel that was getting millions of gallons of water to a data center that they weren't paying for, and it was supposed to be this huge expose. Well, what you find out is that tunnel was for the construction of the power center when they needed a lot of water for concrete
Oh,
mixing and all that kind of stuff. It had
not
nothing to do with the operation of the
nothing
power
to do with
center.
the average. Well, good. But Andy started talking about, like, when we look at them, we need to make sure they fit the needs of the people and whatever, that they are not going to, which is common sense, that they're not going to put a burden on the power. They're not going to put a burden on the local
Right.
building. Like, they're not going to be built like take over a mall or something and shut out things. And that there's electricity available. They bring their own electricity, and he's working with APS and all that stuff. So he had a very common sense approach. It sounded like he was kind of riding the fence, but he was thinking things. It was all constructive thinking, and
And I'll say that
he did.
the more futuristic
Yeah.
view of how to solve this problem is the Musk view, where you put them up in space, use solar power that's 24/7 up there, and beam the data back to Earth.
Not everybody has a rocket big enough.
No, well, no, but Musk does.
Yeah, he does. And that's a great concept. I don't know that he's put it on paper and worked it all out, but I'm sure
I
it
think
would.
he
Yeah, I'm
has
sure he
it.
could.
He talks about it. Now, the key is you have to be able to lift stuff into space relatively cheaply compared to what we have done. And that's the whole point of the Starship program at SpaceX.
Right. Oh, that's his deal. That's what
Yeah,
he's done.
exactly. So I think that's where things are going to go. Now, I'm all for the
Oh,
mini
you
nuke,
think he'll
micro
pull it off?
nukes.
You think he'll do it? You think it'll be
I
feasible?
think so.
Okay.
It's just a question of when.
All right.
Now, I'm also all for the mini nuke or micro nukes all over the country. I think distributed nuclear power just makes our grid far more resilient and and safer.
Andy Biggs seemed to be very positive on it. He thinks that's our future. He thinks that,
I think it
we're looking at
is.
that really hard.
I mean, one does not overrule the other.
Yeah.
We can have both.
Right.
And both would be very economic and good for the world, I think.
We know that wind energy is not that. I mean, it's expensive. It's much more expensive than what nuclear power is.
I think yes. I think the nuclear power is, it's so much more reliable than wind. That's the big thing, and you don't have to have huge amounts of storage capacity for wind to work. I mean, if you had very large storage capacity that was cheap,
that doesn't exist.
Then it doesn't exist. But if it did, then wind energy would make more sense.
Although they're looking at that, they're looking at batteries made out of salt and stuff.
There's a lot of research going on, and we know that with technological progress, the economics can turn on a dime.
It can. We'll see. I'm kind of sold on photovoltaic. I think it has a place.
It does. There's no question. There's a lot of positive applications for solar cells, but providing commercial power is not their best.
Oh no.
Forte.
It's not not replacing all the other stuff.
I'm going to put another caveat in there. In terms of storage, we have more and more electrical vehicles, and they have big batteries in them. And if you can figure out a way to use those batteries to even out the grid demand.
Well, Tesla already has.
So that is another way that we can meet the storage requirements.
Tesla's already bought those programming. They've already got that programmed and an ability.
Right, but we're nowhere near at the level we need for national power grid.
Oh, not for the national power grid, but he was looking at it as a backup for like peak times.
Oh, I think as a residential use for individuals, it can be wonderful.
Well, and the way that system works, and I don't even know if it's turned on at this point, but he's done a lot to explain it. But you plug your car in at night to get charged, and assuming you give permission and you say you want to be part of the program, you could say, take my car down to 50% if you want to, or whatever. You set the parameter. But then if they need power, rather than it charging your car, it takes the charge out and feeds it back to the grid.
Well, now here's the thing on that, and why it can work so well, and that is there is a disconnect between peak power and total power. You have to have your capacity capable of producing peak power, but there are many times during a 24-hour cycle, usually one significant one, where very few people are using power, but you still have the capacity. So you can use that capacity to charge up your cars, your batteries and everything relatively cheaply. And then if the next day when you're starting to reach peak, you can pull on that capacity, well, then overall your peak capacity doesn't have to be as high as it otherwise would be.
Yeah, and Tesla would pay you for the power to come back. So I think it's
so that's
but I don't know that that's actually flipped a switch that they're doing that at this point. But that was his dream. They become a big power company.
It becomes a very complicated system because we haven't built the grid to work that way.
No,
because it's pulling power from
but
hundreds of thousands, if not millions of tiny little producers.
But I think that could be easily done with a Tesla system because they're in complete contact with all of those.
Right.
All those
That's
residents.
what it would take. It takes a unified command and control.
And you could say we just need, so much power. Do we have it available? And they could just turn on 1,000 cars and just take it because they have already had permission.
Well, exactly. I mean that. Theoretically, that can work. I don't know if it is actually working yet, but that's the concept. I think it's a valid concept. I mean, but I don't think we've actually put it in practice yet.
To my knowledge, not. And I read about it, a few years ago. I mean, it's something he's had in the works for a while, a dream.
Right.
And especially since the batteries that he's projected to build we'll have a life cycles greatly extended beyond where they are now.
And all
So
of that, I read a lot of articles talking about improved battery technology,
yeah,
and
it's true though.
happening.
Every year.
It's just so far, it's mostly incremental.
Yeah, 5-10% a year, but 5-10% a year over 20
Adds
years,
up.
where it's like, my
No
gosh.
kidding.
In fact, we finally reached a point where the density, like how many kilowatts per pound of battery.
Yeah,
the
kilowatt
di-
hours per pound, right?
Yeah,
Or per kilogram is the more
yeah,
common.
but the density has reached a point where Musk now looks at it and says that it's dense enough to look at air travel, to develop things that could be electric air travel and be reasonable.
I've read the same thing, but
And there are some electric airplanes out there.
we're talking about relatively short ranges. I mean, under 500 miles.
Right now.
That's exactly right. That's what I'm
In
saying.
fact, I don't even think 500 miles. I mean, there's some trainer planes out there right now for sale.
But I mean, with the battery densities we're looking at now,
yeah,
we're still looking at under 500 miles.
Oh, it's not. Oh, yeah, it's not. It's not huge yet. But I looked at some of the trainer planes that are available that are on, but they have less than an hour of flight time. And that's not great. I mean, I'm not interested, but for a trainer, that'd be great. You go up for an hour. That's a long time training. That wear you out.
Well, my brother and I have looked at it in a different way, and a lot of these things are like octocopters or quadcopters or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Those are like not airplanes then, yeah.
But they're meant for one person or maybe two people. One person in some gear. But if you consider the area of the country, particularly in Canada or in large parts of the U.S., where you have properties or desirable places like a fishing lake or something that's 20 miles away from a road. Well, with these quadcopters, you go there and fish and come back all on one charge.
Yep.
And then when you get back, you just charge it up again because you have an ice engine where you're at. So there are practical applications for these things that have a practical range of under 50 miles.
The one that's out there that I've heard about is the Pipistrel. It's the world's first fully type certified electric aircraft. It's approved for pilot training, day VFR in over 30 countries, and it offers 50 minutes of flight time plus reserve, and it charges in an hour and 20 minutes.
That's a fast charge.
It really is, but I imagine that takes a high-powered charger. That's not going to be your 110 plug-in. That's going to be something else. But that would be an interesting plane. But again, you're talking about 50 minutes, so you're not. It's training. You're going to fly locally.
Recreational flight.
Yeah, but not to distance. I mean, even to Phoenix would be. You couldn't do a round trip.
No. But yes, we are seeing that. I watched a couple of videos on it, and they were saying that there were some of these electric aircraft that the ranges were getting up to 100 miles. That's significant.
Yeah.
Now, and it all depends on the battery tech, because we have the motors, the electrical motors. People have developed extremely efficient and super lightweight electrical motors that are
Trump
very effective for aircraft.
Musk has cornered that market. I mean, he did something phenomenal with those electric motors. That's how he got the big speed out of that S, and that he put, I think it was Kevlar or something he put in there, because when on electric motor, they don't have transmissions generally.
Right.
They just
for cars, for vehicles.
They just go faster.
And the same thing, you don't need them for aircraft either.
Now, Porsche wanted to go faster than what the motor would let him, because the motor would fly apart. So they actually put a 2-speed transmission in the Porsche electric cars.
Oh.
But now Musk found a way to do it without it flying apart. And he somehow put some Kevlar in there to hold the bindings together when it starts rotating that rapidly. And that way he could get his Model S up to 200 miles an hour with no transmission.
I don't want to run at 200 miles an hour.
I think you should.
Very, very few places in the U.S. that you can safely drive at 200 miles an hour.
I think you should, though.
Even for short distances.
Yeah.
It has to be a very straight road,
But
and it has to be very flat, and it has to be a very good road.
To make it that bulletproof means that's going to be a motor you inherit to, that you take to you'll get a new car, but keep the motor.
Well, I think I have electric motors that are still usable that were made 100 years ago.
Mhm.
They're just a much more durable
just keep the
form of
the bearings might wear out occasionally, but that's easy maintenance.
Relatively, yeah.
Yeah, should be. I want to talk about cobalt a little bit. I talked about it a little bit this morning, but cobalt, and I think, and this article doesn't say, but I think that's only mined in some place in Africa. And there's been a lot of negatives about cobalt because it's child labor and stuff.
Yeah, I think there are more places where it's available, but that's probably the major source.
But anyway, 75% of the global refined cobalt production comes from China.
Yeah,
so China seems to have a market on all that kind of stuff.
There's a lot of qualifiers there. So,
what do you mean?
Major production out of China, refined.
Well, just refined. They refine it,
exactly.
But they don't mine it. They refine it.
That's right. And so the refining is probably done in China because other technologically capable countries don't want to put up with the toxic byproducts.
So, well, you just put it in a place they don't care about it.
Well, exactly.
Well, in the United States, what percentage do you think we have in cobalt processing?
I don't know.
0%.
Zero.
Yeah, 0% is an easy number to remember.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah. Well, now there's one planned in Yuma County.
In Colorado?
Arizona.
Oh, in Arizona?
Yeah, right. Yuma, Arizona.
Well, that's cool. I like that.
I haven't heard anybody protest it.
It's probably high tech.
I would assume so. And I this is it's not
Sounds
going
like
to be an
the
open
place
pit.
I would like to tour. Can we get a tour there?
I'm sure we can. It's not. They're not going to break ground till 2027.
Oh, so it's not in operation yet.
The construction of the facility is currently expected to be in 2027, with completion targeted by 2029. So it's a few years away, and it's going to be in the county on federal. It's let me see. Yuma County will be located in a federally designated rural qualified opportunity zone.
So do they say where?
Nope, just Yuma County. Who knows?
There's
it may be
Yuma County.
May be at YPG. It may be out near that. It may be.
Well, it's going to have access to significant power.
Yeah.
And
they may bring their
and
own.
They'll need a decent transportation. We got pretty good transportation.
It's already
not going to be out at Castle Dome. I'll tell you that.
They designed it with its own solar power. It's going to have its own solar power powering the whole thing.
Interesting.
And it's going to recycle about 70% of its processed water, which it doesn't say how much water it's going to use. I have no idea. And it's going to operate without an on-site tailing storage or disposal. So there'll be no residue left.
If it's operating off its own solar power, you could put it almost anywhere.
Well, it's going to need some space. And actually we have a lot of it.
There's a lot of the county has access to water, low quality water.
Well, I don't know what this would be. I don't know. Something like chip making takes high quality, but they usually
they have to process their own water.
But
you can't just take it out of the ground and use it in chip making. So you can do that.
I have no idea what it's going to be, but it's going to.
Somebody knows if it's supposed to break ground.
Well, of course somebody knows, but they're not telling me.
Yeah, why not?
I don't know.
Just because you have a big voice.
It's going to be the facility is expected to produce an aggregate of up to 7,000 metric tons combined cobalt per year of cobalt sulfate or cobalt metal.
7,000. That's quite a lot.
I have no idea what that is comparison to the world consumption. I have no idea.
It'd be nice to know how much we consume in the U.S. in a year.
Yeah, I'm sure we could get that from AI, but and I'll get that in a minute. But at projected capacity, the facility is expected to supply a substantial portion of U.S. cobalt demand across aerospace and the United States industrial base, EV batteries, and other advanced manufacturing applications. Cobalt's critical, not just for EV batteries, but also jet engines, superalloys,
there's a lot
satellite
of
systems, permanent magnets, high performance microchips, and other advanced technologies. So
But what they're not telling you, though, is that it's a relatively minor component of these things. So you
It-
don't need a huge amount of it.
but it's necessary.
Right.
And when we don't make it,
Yeah.
or well, we
So
don't
I
mine it
like
for
the
sure,
idea
but
of
we don't process it,
I like the idea of a cobalt processing
and
plant.
we're beholden to China for it right now.
Right.
And what's a permanent magnet? What does that mean? That
It
just means one doesn't
it's
need
not an
electricity.
electromagnet.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
permanently magnetized. You pick it up and it's still a magnet.
Yeah, I like magnets. In fact,
Well, they're fun to play with.
because I've been in the auto industry for so long, and magnets play a big role. And I didn't know this, but in the race cars, they put magnets in the oil pan in case there's any shavings or anything that come from because race cars abuse engines. And
Yeah, Russ, I mean, I'll have to say that I remember magnetized oil plugs from 30 years ago.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, they stick these things in the race cars, and so I happened to be in the machine shop one day years ago, and they had some magnets there, and I tried picking up. I couldn't get it off the metal. I mean, they're very powerful.
Right.
These things, magnets, and amazingly powerful.
Well, and you
Not
use
like a refrigerator magnet.
for efficient electrical engines, you use them too.
Yeah.
Electrical motors, I should say. Not
Yeah, but that's what they stuck in race car motors, so that if there was any loose shavings, it just took it.
as long as it was a magnetic shaving, right?
I guess so. Yeah, that would be a requirement.
And there are more metals that have magnetic properties than just iron and steel. Titanium has some magnetic properties too.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and magnets are so necessary in everything.
Well, they are. Yeah.
The fans on your ceiling have a magnet in them. It's
Every
electric
electrical motor has magnets.
It does. So I don't know what tonnage of magnets we make every year, but it's in so many things that you turn on the fan in your car, there's a magnet in there.
Right, but it doesn't necessarily mean they all use cobalt.
Oh, okay. And maybe that's just for the high end. I don't know.
Tends to be.
Okay.
And as they have mentioned in there, there's a lot of very sort of exotic alloys of steel and other materials that have a little cobalt in there because it gives them the properties we want.
Yeah. I'm surprised, cobalt is mainly mined in Africa. I don't know that that's the only place it could be, but there's been a lot of attention to it because of the conditions
just
of
throw
it.
something out there because there are manganese nodules on the deep ocean, and I think they have some cobalt in them, and nobody seems to be mining those at present.
I don't even know, why do they need it?
Well, it's because it produces the properties in the alloy we want. And so not everything is exactly what we want. You have to use material science, and that says when we found out that if we use iron and a little bit of chromium and a little bit of cobalt and maybe some manganese and just these right circumstances, it produces the structures we want to get the properties we want. That's about as generic as I can put it, but I had a very close friend of mine who was a metallurgist, and he sort of drilled stuff like this into my head because he said, yeah, you can't just take steel. Steel is really covers a huge range of materials with very specific properties, and that was his whole career, and he did very well with it.
I asked my AI real quickly how much is produced every year, cobalt
Worldwide.
And let me see, we're looking to open a plant in Yuma at 7,000 metric tons. The cobalt production reached approximately 290,000 metric tons.
That's still that's about 2 or 3% of the world production.
I guess that's a lot.
It sounds like quite a bit to me.
Okay.
Does it say how much the U.S. uses? I would think the U.S. would probably use like 15,
more
20.
than most, I would think. The Congo, that's where they
there's been a lot of
they mine it. They produce 80% of the world's mined cobalt. Congo. Indonesia, the second largest producer, does about 30,000 metric tons. And then, of course, China dominates the market to refine it once it's mined.
Right.
Wow. So it's only in a couple places. it's got to be more than Congo and Indonesia because it doesn't equal the amount needed just between the two of them. So there's got to be some other smaller plants out there, but Congo is going to be 80% of the world's cobalt every year.
I really would like to find out. You know why they're not telling us where this plant is going?
Because they don't want you to have a protest sign.
Well, that's part of it. Or they don't want speculators to be buying up land around it.
Oh, if that's available. And I think it possibly is going to be put on state lands or rural
Well,
land.
you talked about it being put on federal land, and
Federal
we
land.
have a huge amount of federal land
Right.
in Yuma County. What's the percentage of federal land in Yuma County? Like 50%, something like that? 60?
It's huge. I mean,
It's
the whole
very
state of
large.
Arizona is
Right.
huge, you know,
It's
yeah.
huge. And I think it's larger in Yuma County than most other counties.
Well, with YPG and Perry
Yes.
Coldwater Range and stuff. Of
Yes,
course.
exactly.
The U.S. needs, and this is a different article that was written in 2025. The U.S. needs 8,000 tons of cobalt a year, and it says Yuma's going to produce 7,000.
Wow. That's much better than I would have thought.
And we produce. It says we produce 300 tons already. I don't know where that's done.
Well, I don't know either, but 300 tons is not insignificant when we only need 8,000.
And it says cobalt metal, the metal, not the raw material, sells for $33,335 a ton. It's cheaper than gold.
Oh, it's a lot cheaper than gold.
But
33,000
a ton.
About $1.50 a pound.
That's not very much. I thought it was higher.
No, $15 a pound, maybe.
Okay.
I got to get the decimal point right.
Well, you did it in your head. I was
Well,
impressed.
Yeah, I try to do that to keep the mental machinery.
How's that working for you?
It works pretty well.
Okay.
But I find I can't do it quite as well as I did 30 years ago.
Well, people tend to slow down, you know.
That's true. And
Maybe
calculators are everybody has a calculator in their pocket now.
Yes, they do. Yes,
and that's not bad. I mean, that's a good thing. But,
Well,
you also have to be willing to use it.
I look forward to taking a tour of that cobalt plant when it gets here.
I think that would be great. I'd love to do that. I'm already in my head thinking about where would I put it, and got a couple of candidates. I don't think I'd want to put it on YPG, though there are advantages. You have limited access.
Well, it would be on the outskirts. I mean, it wouldn't be in the center. I wouldn't think it would, because it would be just like the GM plant.
I think the place it should be put is right where I have my property.
Yeah, right.
At
a high rent.
Yeah. Right there. I mean, that sounds like a very good place to me. But the fact that they are saying already that it's going to be completely solar powered,
right,
tells me they wanted to be independent of the power grid.
Right.
And so I'm kind of close to the power grid.
And that's probably for a lot of reasons of local politics and everything else, because everyone's so concerned about these data centers, about power.
If you're independent of the power grid, by definition, you're going to be where people aren't.
Right. Right. Like that, our museum out there. What's it called again?
Oh, the Castle Dome.
Dome Museum. That's independent. It doesn't even have a wire running.
Some of my favorite people. They're just wonderful.
A water deal looks like it's, I don't know, they struck a water deal. And we're talking about the water that comes off the Colorado River, which of course is shared by different states. And there's a 3-state agreement between Arizona, California, and Nevada. And I know the feds were looking at this like they were going to have to get up and make the agreement for us, because there was a lot of stalling and non-agreement. It was like dealing with around.
Right. Or several 3-year-olds.
So this article says the Greater Phoenix Business and Economic Development Community are applauding a landmark 3-state agreement between Arizona, California, and Nevada to proactively reduce water consumption from the Colorado River. And it was either that or the feds will come in and do it for you.
Usually you can do a better deal if you get it done yourself.
Well, I think the Fed does that on purpose.
Well, yeah.
You
So
know,
this is really interesting to me because I've been a proponent of thinking that we could work something like this out.
of course, but everyone wants the best deal,
Yeah, exactly.
and it balls up.
And then perfection becomes the enemy of good enough.
Okay, well, and this is they call it a collaborative proposal. It's still going to have to be accepted by somebody.
Does it have to be ratified by legislators?
I don't know. I don't know if it goes that way or if it just goes to the Fed because this is kind of a Fed program.
It is. It's kind of an interstate compact.
Yeah. Well, it's aimed at, they want to conserve an additional 3.2 million acre feet of water through 2028. So that means reduction of what we take off, obviously, off of the
See, I
Lake
don't know
Mead, Lake
I
Powell.
don't know how much we use.
That's easily available, but I don't have it in front of me.
Right.
But
So I don't know if 3.2 million acre feet is a huge percentage, a small percentage, middle percentage.
I think it is. It's substantial.
So in the neighborhood, 10%.
I don't know.
Don't know. We'll find out.
I'll find out. The agreement serves as a vital bridge, providing immediate stability to the river system and protecting the long-term viability of Lake Mead and Lake Powell. In other words, it's a bridge that keeps the feds out of it. Probably. By taking these proactive steps now, the lower basin states are ensuring that the 40 million people who rely on this water and economics they support, or economies they support, can be count on in a secure future. Kind of.
Well,
we're still just arguing over the same drops. I still don't see anybody going out and getting new water.
But see, from my viewpoint, if you get 90% of what you got last year, you'd probably survive. But if some people get 0% of what they got last year, they probably don't survive.
Yeah, it'd be hard to go with no water.
So it looks to me, this is a way to shrink the overall usage so that everybody still gets
well, and there's programs in place when the reservoirs get down to a certain level,
right.
It triggers this deal where you've got to reduce your consumption by this, reduce.
Right.
And if it goes down more, you reduce more, until it goes back up. But anyway, according to Todd Sanders, the president and CEO of the Greater Phoenix Chamber, wow, the chamber has that kind of headlines here. This agreement is a testament to the power of regional collaboration and Arizona's commitment to being a leader in the water stewardship. They were threatened by the feds by negotiating the 3-state plan. Arizona, California, and Nevada have shown that we are proactively building the bridge to a sustainable future together. This kind of decisive action is exactly what our business community needs to ensure long-term economic growth. Under this proposed conservation commitment, California agreeing to reduce usage by approximately 13%.
Oh, okay.
Arizona and Nevada continue their history of substantial measurable contributions to the system's health. In other words, we're not doing any additional reduction.
But California is dropping 13%.
And maybe that's because we already have reduced.
It could be.
I mean, that's what it sounds like, but it's not giving any specifics. This unified front from the lower basin provides a clear alternative to the drastic and inequitable reductions to Arizona's water supply previously proposed by the federal government. It also serves as a roadmap for the type of conservation that should take place in the 7 basins. And I have heard that the proposed federal government did not take into account that Arizona had already reduced their consumption voluntarily.
I would also, and maybe it's in the article, does it talk about the usages of the water?
What do you mean? Like
breaking it down to industrial, agricultural, residential?
No, it doesn't. And I don't know anywhere. I don't know if that's ever a conversation. I mean, it might be. But all I've ever seen is just the total.
See, I don't know. I would like to, the numbers are out there of how much of the water that goes to California is for residential versus agricultural.
Why does it matter?
Because it's, in my opinion, it's most of the water goes to agriculture. And a lot of the water that goes to agriculture is not necessarily cost effective.
Why?
Because you grow cotton, say, and it takes a huge amount of water, but you only get a small amount of profit out of it relatively.
Okay.
And you can't, how to put this, because it's not a market system. The water system is not market based in the West. It's based on water rights, which is it made sense when it was put in. It may not make as much sense
Well, it
anymore.
does now. It still does because we have good water rights. So why you want to screw up the system?
When it benefits you, it's
Yeah,
good.
stop,
and when it,
stop screwing up the system. Stop asking questions.
So what I'm saying is that you might be able to cut a percentage out of some uses easier than others.
You sound like you work for the Salt River Project.
Yeah, well, okay. And on the other hand, you can afford to pay more for residential water because we always pay more because the distribution system is a huge percentage of the cost.
It is.
So when you incrementally change the cost of the water, it doesn't increase the water cost that much.
Yeah, your gallon's going to go up by a penny.
Right,
Yeah,
something like that.
Something like that. But that's a lot of money if you're a farmer.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, this, according to Christy McKay, President and CEO of Greater Phoenix Economic Council, water security is the foundation of economic development in the Southwest, and the lower basin states have shown commitment to driving practical, real-world solutions for the benefit of the region and country as a whole. So just a bunch of propaganda in there.
Well, there's also, I'm going to say this, energy and water are somewhat interchangeable. If you have super cheap energy, you can make good water for a low cost. If your energy is very expensive, you can't.
Well, we don't pay for the water coming off the Colorado. It's free.
Well, yeah, there's always cost involved, just the distribution cost.
Distribution cost, that's it.
But that can be substantial.
No, it can be for Tucson because they have to pump it to them.
For us, we've got gravity flow.
Yeah, we don't pay gravity.
Right.
It's a non-chargeable entity.
Right. It's essentially solar power.
Now, I understand the Iranians want to start funding, taking tolls for gravity, but it's not going to work. There's a gravity toll.
Gravity works the same everywhere as far as I can tell.
All right. Well,
but if you don't have mountains with snowpack, you don't get much gravity usage.
Well, you're right. And that's been a killer for us for the last 20 years. And hopefully with this super El Nino that we seem to be starting up, we might get flooded.
We have in the past with strong El Ninos.
Yeah.
I remember when they took out the bridge on 95.
Yeah. That wasn't that long ago. I was here.
It was about 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. And they rebuilt all that stuff.
They absolutely
rebuilt
did.
It better.
But I remember it was a big detour to go work out at YPG for months.
When I first moved here, they had just had to open up these reservoirs because they were overfilled.
Right.
And that was in 1994, I think, when we had so much water.
Right.
That they had to let it run into the ocean.
As my recollection, we broke records for the amount of rainfall. Because I was keeping those records back then, and I think we had something like over 10 inches of rain at our gauge out on YPG.
Okay.
For the year, and our average is about 3.5.
Well, I've heard a bunch of discussion on this super El Nino possibility that is building, that it's going to be the biggest they've ever seen. We'll see. We'll see. I think it's early.
Well, now I will tell you that I think it was about 95, when I started really paying attention to El Nino as a professional meteorologist, and I found out it was a real phenomena, and it really, is a big deal. I was skeptical, and then, the people who watch El Nino were proven to be correct.
Then you got wet. And I remember working in San Diego at the time. I was in San Diego working for Napa Auto Parts in 94. And, we were the distribution center. And we were told by the division vice president, like, the El Nino's coming, so stock up on wiper blades above where you've ever done it before. And I'm like, El Nino, wiper blades? What are we talking about? Because...
Yeah, I remember I gave a talk. I don't know, as a Chamber of Commerce or somebody here in town, they asked me to. So I had to study up on it. As a professional, I wanted to be right.
Yeah,
and that's where I really started to learn about the concept. And it was really proposed back in the they started understanding how it worked way back in the 1890s.
Good, since you understand how it works, you can explain. My understanding of it, it starts with the heat in the Pacific Ocean.
Correct.
It's like near the equator or something. I mean, it's down.
Well, there's a pretty good chunk of the Southwest Pacific there that gets warmer.
Right.
And when it gets warmer, the whole world circulation of how the atmosphere circulates and transfers heat from the poles toward the equator changes.
Right.
And that means that the track of the storms that come across the United States changes. And that means the track of the storms tends further to the south. And that means we get more water and the northern tier states get less.
But and something I didn't realize, I've been watching the specials this year on this one. It's already affecting the United States, just not us. It's been affecting Texas and Florida, and there's been floods already.
Yeah, and that may be correct. I mean, when you have the atmosphere is not disconnected, it's all one big piece. So you always can say that something is going to affect something else.
Well,
but
they plotted it all out
it's
about the different pressures and how it's
right
bringing
and
moisture into.
It may be correct, and I have to say I've been disconnected from the field for over a dozen years. So the people who work in it now are much more knowledgeable.
We're not necessarily going to feel the moisture effects until our normal moist October.
Remember, May and June are our driest months.
Are they?
They always have been.
Okay.
And so we don't get much rain in May or June, but once we hit July, we could start seeing effects, I think.
Yeah. And when's the monsoon normally hit?
Usually, I mean, it can be as early as late June and early July.
Okay.
But the most common sort of center of the statistics is towards late August and early September.
Okay.
But it can happen. There's a wide area where it can happen. And I've been out of the field for a dozen years.
Well, this El Nino makes it more wet.
Yes, tropical. It does. No question.
And that's what they're talking about. If it's as big as they think it is, and the indications are right now, and it's something they say, well, okay, now that it's happening, it's going to last throughout the whole year. It's changing for the whole year.
Well, it can last more than 1 year.
Okay.
I mean, it's a weird phenomena in that it's not annual. And it's sort of like a tipping point. The heating in the Pacific keeps building up until it reaches a certain point, and then the system sort of tips into a different structure in the way the storms
starts releasing heat at that point.
Well, yeah, I mean it does, and then when it goes on long enough, it tips back the other way, and you get a La Nina, which is the opposite of El Nino.
Okay,
and then it goes back and forth, but it's not something you can predict easily. The cycle varies in length from 3 years to 7 years, as I recall.
But it's all based, I guess, on that temperature.
That was where it was first discovered, is by watching how the monsoon reacted with those temperatures.
Okay.
And so the temperatures in the Pacific are the best indicator of it'll be happening. And by watching those, you can get an idea if an El Nino is being set up or not. And that's what I'm sure they're doing.
Well, these guys were calling it, this is a super El Nino.
Yeah,
so they put extra words on it. I don't know.
There are people who just want to put superlatives and everything. Maybe we have a Trump in the weather service somewhere.
Could be. I don't know. Yeah.
And maybe it is a very, very strong El Nino. But, so I'm not going to say it isn't. If it is very strong, we probably get a lot of water here this year.
We may have some things washed out, but maybe it also fills some reservoirs at the same time.
That's what we have had that happen in the past.
Yeah.
That we got I think in 95, and I'd have to go back and look. I'm not going to say that I remember precisely that it was that year, but I remember that the reservoirs of the Gila were just filled up. The Gila was
which is unusual.
They had to release water or the dams would go out.
Right.
And
I
flooded the valleys here.
I lived here then, so it was after 95 or during 95, whatever. I was here.
Yeah.
During that when they
might have been 96. I'm trying to remember.
And generally that dam is generally pretty dry.
Painted Rock Dam was one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Not then.
If you go upstream from the Colorado, the Painted Rock Dam is the first dam that you find that's of any significance. And the next El Nino we had, which I think was 10 years later or something, I'm trying to remember, where we had the Gila River was really flowing well. I'm going to claim to be the first person to take a kayak down the Gila River from Painted Rock Dam to Colorado.
Well, you can't
Because
do
it's
it.
mostly dry.
You can't do it this weekend.
It took,
It's dry.
I think it took me 3 days. So
Yeah. Did you enjoy it?
the first 2 days were spectacular.
Okay.
It was unbelievable the amount of wildlife you saw on there. There were just thousands and thousands of ducks.
So did that take you away from roads and structures?
Oh,
infrastructure?
yes.
Okay.
It basically parallels Highway 8, Freeway 8 between Gila Bend and Yuma. And so that was my escape plan. If I got saned out where, the mesquite had grown up so, and the salt cedar had grown up so thickly, I couldn't get through.
Right.
My plan was to hike out to abandon the kayak and hike out to the highway
and beg for help.
Yeah, right. But it didn't happen. The currents were strong enough and I was experienced enough that I could do it. And it was just it's a fantastic trip.
You took camping gear and all that?
Well, I used my kayak and I had a poncho and, and it rained. It was El Nino year. So we got a real strong thunderstorm that night. But I remained dry enough to be comfortable, and then I kept going. And I was worried because I was looking for a little bit of high ground because the flooding on the Gila was so big that there was water for it would stretch out to a half a mile on each side in places. And you were in this constrained channel. You couldn't just go everywhere. And so I got into this big area, and it was getting later and later and later, and I wanted to camp before it got dark. And suddenly there was a little piece of high ground that got up about 3 feet above river level, and I was able to camp there overnight.
Yeah, because if it keeps raining, you never know.
Well, that's right. You are okay for it. And I ran into quicksand. I stepped up,
You want to stay away from that.
I had to get out of the kayak every so often because your legs can only take so much of that. You can't go just hours and hours. I couldn't go hours and hours at a time. I'm saying I might not have been conditioned well enough. So every couple of hours I'd have to get out of the kayak just to stretch my muscles and change position.
My listener says the last super El Nino occurred from 2015 to 2016. Does that sound about right?
Sounds plausible.
10 years ago?
Yeah. So I was out of the business then, so I wasn't. It's very plausible.
You didn't have a job.
I had my own job. I created my own work, and I love doing it.
And that's what you do now.
That's exactly what I do now.
You're right.
But so to give you a little story, so I stepped out of the kayak, and then kayaks tend to be a little tippy.
You have to know what you're doing.
Getting in and out of them, and you have to be very careful. And as I was positioning myself to get in, and I had boots on that were waterproof boots up to about knee length. And suddenly the boot keeps going down and down, and I'm going, well, I got to pull my foot out. Well, I couldn't. I mean, it was quicksand, and eventually, because I was right next, the other foot was on more solid ground, and eventually I was able to get my foot out of the boot, and then I was able to pull the boot out.
Creates a suction.
Well, it does, and it was because this ground was not normally wet.
Okay.
So now it's saturated, and you can get a position where that saturated ground becomes there's a name for it, but it's a semi-solid.
Of course, you're away from civilization a little bit.
Yeah, it was a long ways away.
You're alone.
I had a cell phone.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
And you had signal?
Some of the time.
Okay. Well, or otherwise you could still be there.
Yes. It was probably foolish on my part to do that by myself.
Of course it was. I wouldn't respect you if it wasn't.
But I did get through it, and it was an incredible experience.
I'll bet. If it rains again, I'll go with you this time for safety.
Well,
you don't want to do it again?
I just don't have the conditioning. I would not feel safe doing it, now that's 20 years after that.
Did you take a gun with you?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
But it was a very lightweight revolver, and I never had to use it for anything, but it was, it's kind of a talisman.
You never know when that bear comes in.
And frankly, you can have, in a kayak, you can take a lot of stuff.
Really? It doesn't look like it.
Well, compared to backpacking,
okay,
you can take a lot of stuff. Yeah. When I went on backpacking trip down into the Grand Canyon, I didn't take a gun.
Do you I don't think well, I guess can you?
Sure, you can.
Oh, okay.
Now
Oh,
it became legal in 2010.
can you still have the kayak?
Oh yeah,
All
and
right.
I intend to use it, but it's just I've got so busy with things I enjoy doing that I've put aside other things I enjoy doing. I love kayaking. It's just wonderful.
You know,
But I've got so much other stuff I'm busy with that I don't do it as much as I probably would love to.
I took Miss Arizona out on the river on Sunday, this last Sunday,
Uh-huh.
and there were tubers getting in the water, and there was like 3 or 4 kayaks. And to me, I said, I'd love to. I've never tried kayaking.
Well, I grew up in a canoe. I mean, I spent more time in a canoe growing up than I did on a bicycle. We
Mhm.
lived on a river.
Okay.
And so I grew up in canoes, and kayaks are better in some ways. I mean, the thing about the kayak I've got, it's not quite, I think 9 feet long.
Okay.
So it's not a huge kayak. It's not really tiny either. As a kayak goes, it's fairly stable. But you can take that thing on like 2 inches of water. And
a canoe, you can't.
well, canoes
Well,
tend to,
but you
the,
could take-
the right canoe you could.
But you could take friends with a canoe.
You can.
You're not used to friends.
Right. All that is true, but the kayak is so small and so maneuverable that you can get into these tiny little places
Okay.
where nobody else can go unless you have magical powers or something.
Okay.
And since nobody else can go there, they're like there's magical things happen. I mean, I'm thinking I was out on a pond that almost nobody ever puts a boat on. That I'm not going to disclose right now. And I got there a little before sunset, and I got in my kayak and I got out, and I get in, and it's just this incredible sunset with hundreds of birds flying around, and these big fish are leaping out of the water right next to me. It was like almost a mystical experience.
So, can you get a kayak that seats 2?
Oh yeah, they have kayaks.
Because if I'm going kayaking, I'm taking Helen. You know.
Yeah, start with a canoe.
Goes over
They're a little easier.
Yeah, they won't tip. Yeah, if I tip Helen over, that'd probably be the last trip I take.
You got to be careful. I've done the most kayaking I've done in recent years is in Texas. And the reason is because I want to take my grandkids out, and I found a particular river. I'm going to call it a river. And it has there's a 6-mile stretch of it close to where my grandkids are.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I found it's also an extremely dangerous stretch. It's between 2 dams, and when it rains hard, the dams let out water.
Okay.
And that river has very steep banks, and it has a lot of what we call sweepers, where trees have fallen over into it. And so you can get in serious trouble.
And you took your grandkids out there?
On the lower part where it's much safer.
Right. That's how they get tough.
I took the kayak on it to explore it, because you can't tell even from a satellite image what's really there. You have to read the water by being there. And there's some really seriously dangerous places on that river. And I was extremely careful in finding.
And your experience, you wouldn't take.
I am
an unexperienced.
And I got close to in trouble at one point, even though I was being pretty careful. But a current, I was working to get out of the water, and that's really, you can be very tippy with a kayak on doing that. And just at the last minute, that current caught me the wrong way and flipped me, bam, that fast. It was
so you got your hair wet.
It was the water was not deep at that point. It was only like maybe a foot deep.
Okay.
And so I was able to immediately stand up and drag the kayak out. But if it would have been deeper, it could have been extremely dangerous, because the reason that I was getting out is there was a sweeper, a fallen tree. And if you get swept underneath that sweeper, you're in really serious problems.
I'm going to change from the kayaks a little bit. I want to talk about road rage. You ever get involved in that?
Yes.
You have?
Well, I've seen it a lot.
Oh, okay.
And I kind of understand it. If you are in the mode that I have to get from here to there, and it's crucial I get there fast because I'm running a little behind schedule, and it's really important I get there right now, that's where I think a lot of road rage comes from.
Yeah, and some of it's scary.
It is. And I I just wrote about on a forum, a guy who got involved in a road rage incident in one of the Carolinas, I think.
Oh, okay. I got a story from Hawaii.
Go ahead.
Nathaniel Radamark is charged with assaulting an 18-year-old and her mother
Okay.
during a parking dispute.
Oh,
This is so ridiculous. They dub the guy the Tesla road rage driver.
so was alcohol involved?
No,
Oh,
no.
not said in the story anyway.
Yeah, it was and they had to arrest him the next day. So maybe, but he had a history. But it was a 2025 attack involving the two. You know, the 18-year-old, the mom, and all that. And when he was charged with one count of unauthorized entry into a motor vehicle. Entry.
Oh, wow.
So he joined them, I guess.
Well, he could have jerked the door open and tried to pull him out or something.
And 2 counts of third-degree assault, and pleaded no contest. He's a 39-year-old, and according to Honolulu police, after he assaulted an 18-year-old woman and her 35-year-old mother in an incident, he took off. But he said the teen was parking downtown now when she saw a gray Tesla drive past her. The two allegedly exchanged words before Radamak got out of the vehicle, assaulted both victims before fleeing the scene. He was driving a 2022 Tesla.
Oh man, and the Tesla has cameras.
Yeah, so as long as it was still in there, they could have gotten that too. The arrest came just months after Radamak was released from prison after serving less than a year of a 5-year sentence tied to a series of violent road rage attacks in Southern California.
Yeah.
I guess this guy has that little control of himself. He just got out of prison.
Yeah.
For road rage.
Let me tell you this anecdote about the incident that I discussed. This was in one of the Carolinas, as I recall. This guy had retired out of DOD. He was fairly high up in the FBI. He had a very strong, very serious career in the military and working as a civil servant. And he retired at age 53. So he's 63 now. So the incident was described as this driver was driving very aggressively, and these people pulled off the road to get away from him.
Okay. Smart.
The driver does a U-turn, comes back, and starts beating on one of the people there where they had stopped. And so one of them pulls out a gun and kills him.
And self-defense.
Yes, it was.
Was he using a weapon of some kind?
No, but you know, fists can be deadly.
Well, yeah,
and you're not required to take a beat down.
No.
And so I started looking at, and I thought, what the heck? This guy's got a very distinguished career. He's been a military guy.
What was going on then?
I don't know, but my speculation was alcohol. Because I've told you about a friend of mine who's an alcoholic who died recently.
And you have experience.
And this guy, you know, my friend had a very distinguished career, but the alcohol got the best of him.
On this guy, Radmek, he used a pipe to attack the vehicles of his victims.
Oh man, now there's a deadly weapon.
Yeah, and that's in California and again in Hawaii. He had a pipe in the car.
Yeah.
To attack his victims. And the reason he was let out early, he got 424 days of credit for time served while awaiting sentence in an earlier case. But he pleaded guilty to assault, vandalism in the past, and making criminal threats and abuse. The judge in this case, I mean, I don't know why he only got 7 years. Clarissa, during that sentencing, he said, Radamark had failed to seek necessary medical care and continued using illegal substances while on parole for previous convictions. They didn't say he was using them then, but he has been. His history of violence is propensity for violence and defendant's voluntary intoxication. Well, I guess he was. And discontinuing a medication increased the risk of dangerousness to self and the public.
Right.
These findings also demonstrate and reinforce the defendant is indeed a danger to the safety of the public.
Yeah.
And he pleaded no contest. He just said,
Well,
I
because
could do.
he doesn't have a defense.
Yeah, like you said, that Tesla man had some video by the time they got it. Who knows? But he he beat up an 18-year-old woman and a 35-year-old mother with a
Did they use the pipe to do
it said
this?
he used the pipe in the
Oh,
attack. It doesn't
man.
say that he beat them with it or the car or whatever, but
I don't know.
I've seen videos before where, road rage stuff on YouTube where somebody will take something and knock mirrors off a car, knock
Yeah, if you know
windows
what
out.
you're doing, a piece of 3/4 inch steel pipe is very deadly.
Oh gosh. Yeah. It's just to think these guys are loose out on the road, that they've got this propensity. It's just amazing that
Well,
there's that much anger.
we try to lock them up, and I the reason that I suggested that horrible case in in whichever Carolina, because I don't remember, happened is alcohol related, is because at 53 in charge of a major piece of law enforcement agency, that's not really the most common age to retire when you're at the height of your game.
Oh, well,
And
he maybe had some problems.
I have personal knowledge of people who were alcoholics who were forced out as soon as they could retire because they had served a good career, but now the alcoholism is getting the better of them.
The definition of alcoholic is a pretty low bar. I think it's just like a few drinks every day is alcoholic, but
There's pretty specific.
but the guy you're talking about was much more than that. I mean, it was a intoxication that most of us couldn't handle.
I would say that he was a very high functioning alcoholic.
Yeah.
And towards the end, and I don't know how long this lasted. I mean, it tends to build, but he had extreme tolerance for alcohol.
I think my parents became alcoholics later in life. They weren't dangerous. But I think because they could afford it and they had the time.
Yeah, that could be.
Like around noontime, the Seagram 7 came out.
Yeah, I just because of my personal involvement with my friend, who it was just horrible to watch his the degrading of his capabilities. That's why I suspected alcohol in this Carolina incident, because it just seemed to fit. You have somebody very high capabilities, and then late in life, he just goes off the rails.
Yeah, I looked it up, and it just says alcoholic is a person with a chronic medical condition characterized by inability to control or stop drinking.
Yeah, they're addicted. They're addicted to alcohol.
Doesn't give it, but I think I've read before, on some doctors.
There's a lot of
questionnaire about
right.
How many drinks do you have, a day or something like that.
And now the question is, was Winston Churchill an alcoholic?
Probably.
He drank a lot of alcohol.
Yeah.
But he also was extremely productive, and even very late in life, he didn't seem to lose control. So
binge drinking is 5 or more drinks. For women, it's 4.
At a short period of time, or
about
day?
2 hours. 2 hours.
Yeah.
5 drinks in 2 hours is called a binge drink.
When people become addicted to alcohol, the withdrawal gets real serious. And so it's like I watched my friend try to withdraw from alcohol, and it was pretty bad. Medically, what I've learned is that if you're addicted and you withdraw too fast, it can have serious consequences. You can actually die.
Oh yeah, there's alcohol poisoning. It happens in colleges.
I'm not talking from too much alcohol. If I'm from withdrawing. From alcohol.
Withdrawing. Okay.
I was surprised. I did not think that was true, but it turns out it is a thing, and that's one of the reasons. If you're in a program, they'll give you other drugs to keep you alive while you're withdrawing from alcohol.
See, to get into high intensity drinking, you got to double the binge. That means 5 drinks for a man, 8 for a woman.
Yeah. And alcoholics learn to hide this stuff too.
Oh, I know. I've had people working for me that were high functioning.
Yeah.
Drunk on the job, but they didn't have that appearance necessarily.
Well, and that's the thing with a lot of addictions, the tolerance level goes so strong that just to stay functional, they have to have a pretty high level of drugs in their system, whether it's alcohol or something else.
Yeah.
And some people go for years and decades and continue as very high functional.
I was putting up signs one day, campaign signs, and a friend wanted to help me, and it was good. And 8 o'clock in the morning, he wanted to buy a 12-pack of beer, so I bought it for him. I didn't care. And after we got done putting up signs, I said, I might share one of those beers with you. Oh, they're all gone.
Yeah.
Like, what? What do you do with them?
Well, yeah. I mean,
He was not driving, by the way.
But he was highly functional, I'll bet.
He was. I had no idea he was drunk.
Right. So
had I drank a 12-pack of beer?
Oh, well, I'd be on the floor.
You'd have to take me home because I wouldn't know where I was.
My tolerance for alcohol is very low.
Yeah. I want to talk about Spencer Pratt for a little bit. Now, Spencer Pratt is becoming very famous in Los Angeles area where he's running against the mayor, Karen.
Right.
Her name is Karen Bass. He doesn't call her that. He calls her Karen Bashura, which I guess is
trash in
Spanish. Yeah, Karen Bashura. It's funny, but not to her. I'm sure.
Well, he's sort of Trumpian in the way he is acting.
He is, but I found out he is anti-ICE.
Oh, interesting.
And let me give you his explanation here, which I found very interesting because I found it interesting also that he doesn't want ICE in his town. He says, I don't want ICE in LA. Nobody wants ICE in LA except Karen Bashira, apparently. And he put that on social media. He says, because the way you keep ICE out of LA is by enforcing the law, not defying it, which is interesting.
Oh boy, that's an interesting flip.
And he talks about San Francisco. He says, look what the Mayor Lurie did in San Francisco. He's clearly no friend of the Trump administration, but he called the president and made a deal. He vowed to have the San Francisco Police Department crack down on crime, and the president vowed to keep ICE out of the city. Notice what you don't see. No riots, no crazy videos of ICE agents having chaotic arrests. That's how it's done. What a smart guy.
Wow, that's impressive, I think.
But he got my attention because he's anti-ICE. I'm like, oh, let me see that.
Yeah.
He said, let's make it so we don't need to come.
Yeah.
We'll enforce the law.
Wow.
I mean, I'm liking this guy more and more, and I know he's supposed to be a reality star or something, but I think
he's I don't know what the betting odds on him are, but right now they're kind of low. But I
think they're going up all the time.
Well, his supporters are putting out these really well done
artificial intelligence type
videos that just grab you. They're very entertaining.
Smart, well done, and they're obviously done by many different people because the styles are totally different.
They are, and they can do them at relatively low cost now.
Yeah, and distribute them for free.
Yeah, and they just become viral, and everybody wants to look at them because they're fun to watch.
Right, and on top of that, he's just saying smart stuff. Now, that may not be smart to the left.
To the dedicated left, I agree, because they have a different view of reality.
But he said, look what you see. No riots, no crazy videos of ICE agents having chaotic arrests.
Yeah.
That's how it's done.
He's saying, trust your eyes.
Yeah.
Trust your eyes.
Now, Pratt also pointed out San Francisco and other liberal-led cities like Memphis have seen a lack of chaos that they've, that is seen in Los Angeles. He says it's not a Democrat or Republican thing. So what's the common denominator? It's activists, mayors using the city, their residents, their businesses as fodder for their political grandstanding, and people suffer as a result.
Exactly. I think that's
smart guy.
I might have put it the same way. It just seems like the vibe we get from dedicated communist leftists is we're going to make everything perfect if we have to kill off 3/4 of the people to do it.
And then he said, Karen Bashira is guaranteeing future ICE escapades. Adults put their egos aside. That's exactly how I will end the ICE raids in LA. Our city's not a political playhouse. It's our home.
Wow. That's powerful
It's
stuff.
very powerful. And he didn't even have an AI guy write him a commercial for free. He did that himself.
Yeah,
I think he's really smart. I think he's appealing to masses.
he
I would
is.
assume. I would assume.
I mean, he is trying to make democracy work.
I think.
Look, I'm going to make things better for you. Vote for me.
Right. I think everybody. I mean, politicians should look at this, and this is the way. This is the way to run it. Which is this great, straightforward stuff. I mean, granted, he's attacking his
rival.
his rival, but not in a way that she's bad, and then leave the stage. She said she wants this. Here's how I'm going to fix it. Type stuff.
Well, he is, but it's a generic. I'm going to fix it. He's not saying I'm going to increase the police budget. Decrease. He's saying
good point.
We are going to enforce the law. We are going to get clean streets.
But it's more powerful than just spending more money.
I agree.
It's more powerful.
It is.
Because it's results driven. And that's where he put it. Look what they did in Nashville.
Right.
Look what they did in San Francisco. We're going to do those. That's how it's done.
And so exactly what he is saying is clean streets are more important than giving money to the homeless. I think one of his ads says exactly that.
That is an ad.
Yeah.
In fact, it shows him with a power washer, power washing streets in a homeless area.
Yeah. He says, yeah,
it's kind of awesome.
I've seen one, Mayor Bass, more money for drug addicts, somebody else, more money for, some other group, clean streets and the rule of law.
Right. Empty sidewalks. Because right now there's tents on sidewalks. He wants to take all that stuff. And some of those ads showing Karen Bass handing out, hypodermic needles and so it's all AI. It's not really. It's all AI. It's very impactful.
They're well done. I mean, I looked at them and said, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this in politics. I mean, you get some sorts of things. I mean, way back in the 1800s, you had cartoons depicting, the opponent as doing something or another, but it's not the level of
Pratt's
of emotional impact these things can have visually, I believe.
Yeah, Pratt's had some cartoons of Karen, but I don't know if it's him doing them or the AI guys. I think it was the AI guys.
Yeah, I think so.
And also her as the Joker, dressed up as the Joker. And
yeah, there's Batman. That one. And then there's one where, Pratt is playing like Luke Skywalker. And another one that shows him as the Terminator that's saving a mother and kid.
And then there's one where he's a Lego man.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, all the characters are Legos.
Oh, man.
It's just, but it's all coming from these. It's got to be different people. It's not him. I mean, it's other people. I don't know where his is and the others are.
Well, there's campaign finance laws. I suspect that these are like individual creative people who are just saying, I'm going to do this.
But if you do a parody on YouTube, and it doesn't say vote for Pratt, it's just a YouTube video of Pratt and Karen Bass, which favors Pratt, obviously, to the most people. Is that really a campaign video? Or is it just a parody?
There's no law against making such a thing.
No.
The law is that if you use campaign funds, you have to say where the campaign's funds came from.
Right.
But if I wanted to make a video with something like that, and I had the skill, I can do it.
But
it's free speech.
I think so. But at some point, my assumption is if you're doing a video that says vote for.
No, I don't think the limit would be, this was approved by.
Maybe. But I know political action committees do a lot of these kind of videos, but they always label it as a political action committee. If you don't have to, why would they?
Because as a political action committee, there are limitations on funding. And I think the funding is where the legal hook comes in.
Maybe.
And you can do more or less if you take funding in a certain way. And so if you're not taking funding from anybody,
no,
or
I don't know, but that's the way it appears. Or if
you're an independent group that isn't
just some guy that's creative sat down and did it and threw it out there.
That's perfectly legal.
I want to talk to a campaign lawyer and find out.
Yeah, okay.
Where's the law? There's a line somewhere. I don't know what
there is.
I don't know what it is.
free speech, political speech is free speech
It
in
is.
the United States. And so you cannot stop that unless there's some other hook.
I like I said, I don't know where that is, but
And I think it has to do with the money, and particularly foreign money.
well, rumor is that a lot of them are collecting foreign money and hiding it. So,
Oh
I'd
yeah,
like to-
that is
I'd like to
rumor
see
out
that.
there. I tend to believe that.
50,000 evacuees get to return home in Southern California. I don't know. I mean, I guess
Oh,
it
that's
was,
with that big chemical tank that was
Yeah.
at risk.
yeah. And there's a hazardous material was in it, methacrylate. It's highly flammable,
Yeah.
and apparently this tank was full of it. I mean, it's a great big storage tank of it, and it was overheating,
Right.
and it was showing signs that it was going to explode.
Yeah, they were very concerned about that,
Yeah,
and reasonably so.
And there's tons of residents all over. This is in Garden Grove, and I guess the people live near this aerospace transparency system, which had this chemical, this highly
Right.
flammable chemical. It says so 50,000 people had to be sent home. I mean,
Right.
sent out of town, away from home,
Well,
had to evacuate.
as a precaution.
This is Orange County.
Yeah.
Well, and it was I think from what I read here, there was good reason to send him home. Craig Covey, the Orange County Fire Authority Division Chief, said all residents will go home now. I mean, it's over. He says over the Memorial Day, a crack unexpectedly formed in the tank.
Right.
Now that's a bad sign.
It can be, right.
And it was relieving pressure and helping avert a catastrophic explosion. Otherwise,
Right.
it may have exploded.
Right.
But it got a crack in it, relieved some of the pressure. And that allowed, it's still roughly 16,000 residents remain under evacuation orders until Tuesday. I guess they went home, but the temperature stabilized at 92 degrees. It was up to over 100. It was 100 degrees over the weekend. The sprinkler system started dousing the tank while company specialists and firefighters removed insulation to help cool it. I guess the insulation was keeping it warm at that point.
Sure. Right.
That is a dangerous job. I mean, this thing could explode, and these guys are up on the tank removing insulation.
Yeah. They could make a movie out of that.
God bless these firefighters.
Right.
Knowing that thing could go up.
Well, and now 100 degrees. So are they talking Fahrenheit or Celsius?
I would assume 100 Fahrenheit, I would assume. But
see, that's only body temperature.
But these things have built-in cooling systems to keep them that low.
Right.
Something failed.
Well, there was a fire, right?
No, I did not get that impression. There was no fire. But something failed in the cooling system. It sounds like.
I thought there was a fire. Maybe I'm wrong.
See, the MMA or the methacrylate can cause serious respiratory problems, neurological issues, irritation to the skin, eyes, throat, according to Environmental Protection Agency. The mayor, Stephanie, she plans to hold the company accountable. Well, what does that mean? Are they gonna,
exactly.
Well, pay everybody's hotel bills, maybe. We apologize for the ongoing disruption this incident is causing, and our priority remains the safety of its neighbors and our community. You see, crews had been racing to prevent a catastrophic failure since Thursday when officials responded to a vapor releasing from the storage tank, which manufactures engine structures and products for commercial and military aircraft. Gavin Newsom, of course, had in a state of emergency, and the fire chief, T.J. McGovern, said it was likely caused by the failure of a cooling system designed to regulate the temperature inside the chemical tanks, although they're still investigating. So I guess this stuff is so hazardous at a certain temperature, they had a built-in cooling system to keep it down, and it failed somehow. It had 7,000 gallons of this stuff. Say, we don't know why it stopped cooling. So that's what started this event to where the product heated up. That's how this whole response started.
7,000 gallons is not that huge.
Well, unless it's in your neighborhood.
Well, I mean, I've seen 1,000-gallon propane tanks.
Oh, yeah.
They haul them around on a trailer behind a truck. So 7 of those, that's just it's
When,
good
when,
size.
when you got stuff that caustic in it, it has to remain at a temperature of 92 degrees.
Well, I mean, there's safety systems and all that, sure.
Failed.
But
And
it's not. I mean, the news stories when I was reading them, it sounded to me like it was a frickin', excuse my language, 4-story high tank, that's 50 foot across. Well, it's a tiny fraction of that.
it was a big tank. Maybe it wasn't full, but it had 7,000 gallons in there, and the cooling system failed. I'm sure they're going to investigate that, find how could it fail and no one noticed, how there's no alarms
Right.
going off.
Well, they maybe had alarms. They went there.
Well, they noticed it because the vapor after the crack formed is why they noticed it.
No, they were there before the crack formed.
Oh,
because
no, that's the crack formed. And let me see. On Memorial Day weekend, a crack unexpectedly formed in the tank, relieving pressure and helping avert a catastrophic explosion, allowing most evacuees to return
Yeah,
home.
right. After they were already there.
Maybe. I got the impression that that's how they noticed it.
Well, it's a different impression.
Maybe
than
I could
mine.
have been wrong. Okay. Let me see. Health officials and not Texas has levels and all that stuff. I got the impression that's how they noticed it was the crack. But and they started seeing vapor coming from it, but it doesn't specifically say that.
Well, I think they had a cooling system failure. Then they had a release of the chemicals, probably through an emergency valve or something. And then they were concerned about the thing going to blow because the cooling system had failed.
Well, the tank cracked eventually.
Yeah, and I think it cracked in part because the cooling system failed.
Oh yeah, but and to heat it down with sprinklers on the outside of the tank, probably not as effective as an internal cooling system.
Well, yeah, probably, but on
because
the other
it took days to get that thing cooled.
well, right. Again, the 100 degrees really is. I mean, that's a pretty low temperature. It's just body temperature. So I mean, it's probably has to do with the vapor. What it takes to keep this material liquid.
It says crews had been racing to prevent the failure since Thursday when officials responded to vapor releasing from a storage tank at the facility.
Right.
Now, and then earlier it said that there was a crack where vapor was, but maybe it was a vapor valve.
But
I
the
don't know.
crack happened over the weekend, not Thursday.
On Memorial Day. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. So they'd been working on this thing, watering it down since Thursday, and you still was hot enough to crack the tank.
Right. So
on Memorial Day weekend.
And when you say hot enough, like I said, I'm guessing that they had to keep it cooled down to keep it from vaporizing. That's what I'm thinking is going on.
Well, I guess so, but they were afraid it was going to explode.
Right.
That there was enough pressure building.
Right.
That it was going to explode.
Yeah.
They couldn't release it.
Well, it's kind of like liquid oxygen or liquid nitrogen.
But I was wondering, they sat there for days trying to cool it down. They couldn't just hook up one of those trucks that delivered it in the first place and have it removed.
It's a good question. I don't know.
Because I would assume they transported that material there.
Yes, I assume so too.
So the vehicles that transported it, I would think they would call them up and say, empty this tank, it's malfunctioning, and take it to some other location. But they just stayed there throwing water on it.
That's an interesting point.
I mean, that would have been my first thought, is get that stuff empty.
Yeah, I mean, we see that with with ships, and they have huge quantities of different things, but I'm saying one of the things they try to do is to empty the ship of, like if you have an oil problem.
Right.
Transfer that oil to somebody else.
Get rid of what's going to cause a catastrophe. A bigger catastrophe.
Right.
Before that thing explodes. Pete Hegseth gave a speech at West Point.
Yeah.
I'm liking him more and more. But unfortunately, the more I like him, the more the left hates him.
Oh, yeah, that seems to be a correlation.
Probably because he's doing things that I absolutely wrap my arms around. I love it, and the left is vibrating. He delivered some remarks in front of the cadets and reminded them that the battlefield does not grade on a curve, and if you can't throw your pronouns at the enemy, combat is the ultimate test. and our best Americans must must ace it.
Yeah.
But the fact that he threw out their pronouns, but we can't throw pronouns,
Right.
because that's what they were teaching at West Point.
It was under the Biden administration, it was a priority.
Yeah. This article is written by a Douglas McKinnon. I don't know who he is much, but I guess he was doing a story for Fox News before this, and he tells about some of his experiences going to the academy, and some of the things that were told him. Now, Hegseth, he thinks sums it up better than he would as a writer, but and he does it from a powerful position.
Well, Hegseth has very good writers, I'm sure.
Now, yeah, but he's also a journalist himself, and he's
Oh, yeah,
pretty good
and
at putting
he's,
the words together.
Yeah, he's a writer too, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's written a book or two.
Yeah.
And he's been on Fox News for a decade.
Right.
and
So he's very experienced.
Well, he spent the time calling out the woke and weak leaders who sought to transform West Point to a woke Princeton, which is his alma mater.
Yeah.
He's from, he went to Princeton. He said the combat decorated secretary is part of, regarding those leaders of West Point, they embraced the DEI craze, tried to introduce diversity and inclusion studies. They hired professors who advocate for anti-American ideologies right here in the halls.
Right.
On this, and this writer, Douglas says, on this point, I have a personal connection with the warning the Secretary of War just delivered. Back on July 2nd, 2022, so a few years ago.
It's not long ago, 3 years ago.
A
little less.
I'm going to just read what he wrote
Do.
here. He says, I was on the hallowed grounds of West Point to appear on Fox and Friends Weekend to discuss my just authored book titled The 56 Liberty Lessons from Those Who Risked All to Sign the Declaration of Independence. He said, a book I had only written to protect our founding fathers from the woke mob continually seeking to cancel them. Soon after my segment finished, a senior officer at West Point quietly approached me and asked if he could speak with me in private. After he walked off to the side, he outlined in detail how West Point was not only going far left, but eliminating or watering down one standard and tradition after another. With tears in his eyes, he begged me to get the word out. To be sure, I tried. But it was a word Secretary Hegseth is much better positioned than I to amplify, as he just did so admirably.
And I have read Victor Davis Hanson, by the way, who says that it appears that much of the woke has been funded and pushed by our foreign adversaries, the Chinese particularly, in order to weaken us.
Yes.
They don't allow it in China.
But presidents like Biden has funneled billions upon billions of dollars into adding to what China's been doing.
Well, he got the Biden family, I should say, received tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars from the Chinese.
Well, no, I'm not talking about his personal money. He's funneling billions of tax money.
Well, if the Chinese spend 10 million, they expect 100 million in return.
Oh, probably. but
I'm making allegations that I don't have proof of.
He was forcing all the government agencies to open up offices for DEI, and for everybody to take lessons and
exactly.
and DEI and all that stuff. Billions of dollars spent, wasted tax dollars.
Well, to me, it's traitorous.
Yeah, I think so. There would be people who would disagree with us. I'm glad that we're just through with it, let it go away, but it's not. It's underground.
Gone, no.
It's underground, and
Right.
we cannot let our guard down. We can't.
Correct.
This author goes on to say, he just proves so. With regards to Hegseth himself, while staying on the grounds of West Point, I had the honor to speak with him one-on-one several times. To say that he is one who deeply cares about our military and the exceptionalism of our nation would be a vast understatement. He just proved so with his words, calling out the destruction DEI is deliberately visiting upon our military. During his commencement speech, Hegseth also reminded Many of you, even in your short time in uniform, have endured what I call the slow slide of the U.S. Army. You've seen standards lowers. You've seen an obsession with race and gender. You've seen the watering down of discipline, codes weakened, and traditions tossed aside in the name of political correctness, statues taken down, paintings placed in the basement. It was here that I would like to make the most critical point of all. For if not just the Army or our military in which we see standards lowered, an obsession with race and gender, the watering down of discipline, codes weakened, and traditions tossed aside in the name of political correctness, but in every single occupation which ultimately holds the precious lives of American citizens in its hand. Be those occupations our police, fire departments, the healthcare industry, the airline, transportation industry, air traffic controllers, 911 operators, and our utilities. All in the age of Obama and Biden, which have become infused with draconian DEI edicts, which have dangerously watered down the quality and effectiveness of those occupations.
Yes.
Wow.
It's all true.
My gosh. That's quite a speech from Hegseth, even, and that was all him. But this author is just in awe of Hegseth, like, you did better than I could.
Yeah.
And you've got that platform,
right,
to do it.
I mean, much of the success of the United States is because we have been a practical meritocracy where how well you do depends mostly on how much you produce and how good you are at what you do. And in much of the world,
but that makes sense.
That is not the case. It's who you know and who you're related to.
Yeah. See, he says, I don't believe identity politics should be the metric used to fill any job. Real world experience and merit should be the only criterion when seeking to fill any position. But most especially when it comes to our military, our police, our firefighters, our doctors, our nurses, and our pilots, identity politics should never be employed.
He's right.
But if during Biden, he would have been fired.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And to tell the truth, it isn't a recent phenomena. This has been ongoing ever since affirmative action was implemented. And now we are finally moving away from that and saying, no, we're not going to favor certain groups over others.
Well, the Supreme Court has put it as illegal in many cases.
Correct.
You can't
use
discriminate.
Racism to correct racism.
Right. But that's not what the left calls it, Jim Crow 2.0, because it rhymes.
Well, the problem that I see is that the left has an agenda, and the agenda is not making America great. The agenda is gaining political power.
Right.
And then they do things that are bad for most people, but in which they get rich.
Unfortunately, there's money in doing the wrong thing for somebody who knows how to play that game.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you happen to watch that video I sent you this morning?
No, I haven't.
I didn't think you would. I mean, I didn't think you'd have time or see it. But
well, I don't know. When did you send it?
Probably while you were driving here.
Probably.
Been hard for you to do it. It was a video on a lady explaining the brilliance of Trump and what he's trying to get accomplished right now in putting off the ceasefire.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I'll have to look at it when I can.
Well, I'll explain a little bit, and I'll probably do a terrible job. But
you're pretty good at explaining stuff.
I'll talk about it. But it kind of shocked me. I didn't see it, and it all has to do with the Abraham Accords.
Okay,
I mean, it's kind of connected to that.
Well, it makes sense.
Well, apparently the trigger when Iran put up the attack on Israel, like October 7th,
right.
attack, Saudi Arabia was looking to sign on to the Abraham Accords.
Right.
Now,
I remember reading that analysis.
Now, the impact of that is greater than I thought. I mean, I don't really understand that part of the world. But in Saudi Arabia, two of the religious meccas are there.
Right.
Apparently, they are seen by neighboring states as, the power and the religious a focal point and all that other stuff.
Correct.
Which I didn't really understand that because I know they're an ally to us too. We ally with them,
Right.
at times.
Yes.
But this attack on Israel is suggested by this author that it came to stop that conversation
Correct. I've read that before.
with other nations, because that would have been the death to Iran to have the Abraham Accords picked up by their.
Well,
by
I don't know that I would say it would have been the death of Iran. It would have been the death of their
ideology.
theocratic ambitions.
You're exactly right. That's better stated, because the state would survive, but maybe not the leadership.
Right.
So they had to do what they could to disrupt and get that out of the way and get
So
that
it was
done.
kind of a desperation measure.
Very much so. But it had been planned for years.
Oh yeah.
But they pulled the trigger then. And the brilliance of Trump, I guess, and according to this author, was that when he was ready to go back to war, I mean, he was ready to say, okay, the ceasefire is eliminated. I mean, it's done. So we've spooled up. We're gonna go back. And that's when Qatar, and I've mentioned this on air before because Trump has mentioned it, that the reason he extended it because he got called from Saudi Arabia, he got called from Qatar, and from United Arab Emirates to give it some more, try and all that, and it made Trump realize that these guys were in a little bit of trouble themselves. Apparently, Saudi Arabia is not flush right now, and they can't afford losing oil money, um, vacationing money, things like that, the things they do to drive people out of their country.
Well, they have the same problem we do. They tend to want to always spend. And so at some point you reach a limit.
And apparently they are at that limit, and they really can't afford to have Iran start missiling their ability to produce.
Right.
Which is happening. And keep in mind, United Arab Emirates is hotels, it's luxury, people visit. They're not visiting right now.
Right.
And their money, a lot of it is coming from that. They've built these elaborate vacation spots,
right,
that people travel from all over the world. So these guys are really hurting, and they're begging Trump that we need to not take any more hits. We'll help you. So they've been helping Iran behind the scenes, elimination. Well, they
helping Iran or helping Trump?
They're helping Trump. I'm sorry. They're helping
Trump manage Iran.
Help him manage it. And they've been doing that through kinetic energy and eliminating things.
Yeah, they have.
And according to this author, that was a signal to Trump that they want this as much as they need it as much as we do.
Right.
That they're under pressure.
Yeah.
From their businesses, their people, to keep them in control too. They got to get this Strait of Hormuz open. They got to get this other stuff going too. But they didn't want. They knew that Iran was going to attack them if Trump attacked Iran.
Okay.
And they wanted to hit that off because they didn't want to take any hits and risk losing a refinery, risk losing oil, risk losing a hotel, and then a reputation where nobody's going to visit.
I understand what you're saying. Continue.
And apparently that's why Iran was doing it. Iran was doing it to cause pain to these guys so that they would stop. So in essence, they said it was working for Iran. As stupid as it is, and in the long run, because they don't want to keep an enemy that's going to hold them at bay like that.
Well, right. So what I'm hearing is that Iran was using its power to extort the neighbors.
Because they would put pressure on the United States, and it did, and it worked, and Trump kept the ceasefire. But here's what it did. It let Trump see more clearly the battlefield.
Yes.
And more clearly what's going on. So, and he just did this just a few days ago. He came out in a group message and insisted that they all sign the Abraham Accords.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what Iran was trying to stop in the first place with the October 7th.
Correct.
And he's put them under pressure for me not to do another kinetic attack on Iran will take you signing the Abraham Accords.
And what this does is it creates a united front against Iran.
Correct. Correct. And that is Iran's worst nightmare. Apparently. And
Well,
they were willing to do
they have
October
plenty of
7th to
nightmares.
stop Saudi Arabia from doing it.
Right. Well,
And-
I think that was, from what I've read, that's a reasonable way to believe they viewed the world at the time.
Right. And Trump is looking at that as an opportunity. And here's what he wants done in Iran. He wants to eliminate the threat. He wants it gone.
Right.
He doesn't want to have the United States to have to keep revisiting this issue.
Right.
And getting all the neighbors to sign off on Abraham's Accord is his, at least in his vision, according to this author. It's not from Trump. But it really confused me when he said he got all these people on the phone and said he wants them all signed to Abraham. Because like, what are you, nuts? We got this thing going on. Why would you start looking at Abraham Accords at this
Well,
point?
it makes sense to me from a strategic viewpoint.
Well, now it does to me, but I had to listen to this
Yeah.
video of explanation
Sure.
that it's a brilliant move for Trump if he could get Saudi Arabia and a couple others, not all of them, because a lot of them probably have some other issues like Qatar and stuff like that, who has I guess on their passport even it says not usable to travel to Israel.
Yeah. All of this. And,
Yeah.
and this is a broader strategic perspective where you create a structure of stability in the Middle East.
Right. Where and they're already partnering with Israel right now on this conflict,
Correct.
much like we partnered with Russia, but
Well,
maybe it'll
because they
last,
have a
maybe it
common
won't last.
enemy.
But Trump wants it to last
Yeah. Yeah.
with an Abraham Accords.
Right.
And this author seems to think that he's got a great chance because what Saudi Arabia wants is continued prosperity.
Right.
And Israel has a lot to offer
It does.
for that prosperity.
And what Iran and
Iran offers
Hezbollah
nothing.
and Hamas and the Houthis, their proclamation is diametrically opposite. There's we will win because you Christians love life. We love death.
Right.
That's exactly the opposite. We don't want prosperity. We want to die.
Well, and this author seemed to think that it's quite possible that Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates.
I don't think it would have happened with the previous king of Saudi Arabia. But with the crown prince we have now, he's shown himself to be much more flexible.
Well, they're looking to diversify their products. They don't want to be just oil. And they're going high tech. They're going to
the
technical.
reforms that have come in just the last few years with allowing women to drive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge thing in Saudi Arabia.
I think that's a bad step backwards.
Well, I don't want to go there.
No, I think it is a step forward. It's good. But I knew that Saudi Arabia was looking to diversify. Saudi Arabia's looking.
Oh, they have been for a long time.
Do that with missiles flying in.
Well, it's harder. It's a lot harder. You know, if you're in the middle of war, you don't have prosperity.
And United Arab Emirates has already had some hotels hit and stuff.
Yes.
And that just dries up what they're trying to do. And they're investing huge money in tourism.
Right.
Apparently it's palatial there for tourists to go to United Arab Emirates.
Well, right. And they have done a lot of things to make it more attractive. I think their tax structure is very favorable for businesses that want to locate there.
The only Muslim state or country that actually has nuclear is Pakistan, and that's part of this group too.
Yeah.
Even though they're different, because they are nuclear capable and nuclear weapon capable,
Right.
And Trump has also asked them, along with Turkey. Both of them are long shots at bows, but if Pakistan were to join in that, the power they have, and they've been showing great favoritism towards Trump and peace and trying to make peace.
And Pakistan, China has a lot of influence in Pakistan.
Okay, I'm not aware.
Well, they have a common border.
Yeah.
And Afghanistan, China has a lot of influence in Afghanistan. And so this also is a way to sort of pull power from China and move Pakistan more toward a Western orbit.
Right. And And apparently all of them, many of them are ripe for business deals.
Yes, I think so.
And they don't want war deals.
Right.
They want business deals.
Right.
And that'd be Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates for sure, and Pakistan.
Right. Correct.
And I know Trump interjected in Pakistan and warring with India, and did it on a business aspect.
Yeah. And I mean, looking at the history of Islam prospered in large part because the ideology allowed them to plunder neighboring countries and expand.
Right.
But with the technology and science we have today, that doesn't work anymore. You can't go into a country and just plunder it because you don't get very much. If you want to have a lot of prosperity, you have to be able to produce it internally and or trade for it.
Yeah.
Or if you have a lot of oil, you
get
just
that.
sell oil.
But that may not last forever.
Right.
And that's where Saudi Arabia has been working to diversify. And I didn't realize they were going into the tech. They were getting tech in there. I don't
makes
know.
Sense.
I don't know what or how much, but they've been working. And of course, we know United Arab Emirates has been going towards vacations and
in
hotels and golf courses.
In my opinion, the Saudi aristocracy has been pretty far-sighted, and they realize oil will not last them forever.
Right.
And they've been putting a significant amount of money into other investments.
Right. So I'm, in fact, I know people that have played golf there. They have their own golf type tour in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
I forget the guy's name, Billy something. A pro that ended up signing on with Saudi Arabia years ago. And I met him in San Diego when he was explaining it, but that they paid well.
Well, yeah, they have a lot of money, or they have had,
all that done.
But they're running up against limits on that, as you noted. Because if you just keep spending and spending, at some point you hit a limit. There are limits.
Right. But they're looking to invest, and and I knew they were looking to invest. And I know Edward does a lot of world travel, and he's got friends there, connections in Saudi Arabia, that investments type stuff.
Well,
in fact, he got a Saudi prince, was the second largest investor in X when X was bought out. Then they got 15 investors. It was a Saudi.
It could well be. I just don't know.
Well, that one's public information,
but I will. One of the things that people, Muslim countries have been investing in is American universities.
Okay.
And for influence. And they have had a lot of influence, and that's where a significant amount of the anti-Semitic ideology is coming from on our universities.
Okay. Well, to have them sign the Abraham Accords would be kind of amazing.
Well, I think it looks to me a very positive step.
If it's possible, but Trump seems to think that's tied into what the direction we're going with the Iran war.
Oh, exactly. No, that makes perfect sense to me.
And when he made that announcement, just a couple of days ago, that he's asked him openly on a phone call.
And
that's why he stayed home for the weekend.
When he says the negotiations are going very well,
right?
That may not mean precisely only negotiations with some unknown faction of people in Iran.
He's not negotiating what we think he is.
He's negotiating something far broader and more powerful.
And more long-term.
Yeah.
That if they can have a working relationship with Israel.
Yeah.
On business versus war machinery.
Yeah. Well, or, saying that Israel, we have to, from the river to the sea, meaning the destruction of Israel is their primary goal.
But also, we heard this not, after the October 7th thing with the Hezbollah and all that Lebanon, who has been allowing, Hezbollah to operate out of Lebanon, has asked them to leave, within the last few months has asked them to leave. And now we know that Lebanon has announced they're trying to take over Hezbollah is trying to take over Lebanon.
Well, they essentially controlled a lot of Lebanon before.
Yeah.
It's as Israel has weakened Hezbollah, the Lebanese army has more power relatively. And so we're seeing that.
In essence, they're kind of partnering with Israel on that.
Kind of, yeah.
In a kind of way that I'm sure Lebanon's getting tired of the constant conflict on their soil.
Well, yes, and this has been, we're going on for decades now.
Sure it has. So maybe, and I guess Egypt hasn't been a problem for how long with Israel?
Well, they signed
They
a treaty with Israel. Oh gosh, when was that? Under Carter or something? I'm trying to
It's been
think.
been a while ago, but Israel, I mean Egypt was.
Might have been under.
I think Egypt was the first country after Israel became a country to invade.
Yes,
That was the first one,
they were part
and
of the coalition that tried to wipe Israel off the map in '48,
right, and of course,
and it didn't work.
no. In fact, Israel ended up with more land after that.
Well, and they became stronger.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
as we have seen, I would say in Ukraine, when you're fighting for your survival, if you don't fail, it makes you stronger.
Right. And there's more of a reason to fight. You're not on
Well,
form.
exactly.
You're fighting for your homeland. You're fighting for your house.
Yeah, right. And that's when I have some contact with people who have intimate contact with Ukraine. And that's what they describe is inside Ukraine. The people feel that they are fighting for survival.
And there's many people though that are of the opinion that nothing can ever be fixed because these people have done it for so long they don't know anything else, and they're going to continue to fight, continue to be stupid. And maybe they're right, maybe they're not. But when you see things like Egypt backed off
Well, and yes,
years ago, and
I mean, I'm amazed at how well Egypt has turned out during the Obama administration. The Obama administration tried to flip Egypt. This is in my opinion, but from what I've read and wide sources, into being under the control of the Muslim Brotherhood.
Yeah,
it failed, not because of anything we did, but because the Egyptians rose up and said, "No, we don't want this."
well, and that's what Trump's trying to get in Iran, or thinks is happening in Iran, is that they're going to rise up and say we don't want the Ayatollahs. But we'll see.
It may be they've been under very autocratic control for 47 years.
Right? They don't know anything else.
On the edge of totalitarian. Well, I don't know that that's true. I mean, Iran had experienced a significant period, like about 30 years, of becoming more and more westernized, more and more educated.
But I mean, the people today. I mean, what's the average age in Iran?
Right. You're correct.
They were born into
but
this.
There is this persistent, I think there's a persistent cultural heritage in Iran that says we don't want totalitarian Muslim control.
But they haven't been able to
they haven't been able to shake it.
Of course, if you protest, you get shot.
Yeah, and tortured or thrown in prison, all three.
Right. So it's just becoming more interesting to me now, as I'm looking.
Yes,
as I'm looking at
times,
some of the complexities that's going on.
Right.
So now I'm rooting for this Abraham Accords. I wonder if Trump will get someone to sign over. It's not going to be Turkey. Probably it won't, and they were involved in the call.
Probably not Turkey. I don't know.
Turkey's an oddball to me. I mean,
the Erdogan's in charge there, and it looks to me like he's trying to recreate the Ottoman Empire to a certain extent with him as the caliph.
Well, it seems to be a focal point. I mean, it's a very powerful location, Turkey, but
they have significant technological capabilities.
Right. And at times he looks like he's supporting Trump. I mean, Putin. At times he's supporting Ukraine.
Well,
at times
he's
supporting the United States. And at times, I don't know where he stands, but he seems to be pretty stable as far as a country, but not stable as he switches around to who his friends are at the moment.
Right. To me, there's this huge question as to whether Turkey should continue to be in NATO.
Yeah, I understand.
So
I mean, didn't he place orders for defense equipment from Russia, which is anti-NATO?
Well, and have they sold stuff to Russia, like drones or something? I'm
well, they sold them to Ukraine.
Okay,
that Bayraktar was the first.
Yeah.
That came right out of Turkey.
Yeah, that's right. Really, it was very important early on,
and it really angered Putin.
And that drone was one of the a significant part of the operation where they sank the Moskva, which was the biggest ship in the Black Sea in the Russian Navy.
It was such an impact. Apparently, mothers were naming their children Baraktar.
Yeah, I remember hearing that early on. But the pace of technological development in the Ukrainian war, and this often happens in war, is that's where technology has tremendous gains.
But they had the engineers to begin with.
Well, they did. Ukraine is a very well-educated country.
Yeah.
And they were a center of technological innovation inside the Soviet Union.
They manufactured the aircraft carrier the Soviet Union has. It was manufactured in Ukraine.
Yes. And so it's, I watched the Ukrainian war and the tremendous destruction in lives and material. I mean,
it's leveled towns.
It's just horrible. And a lot of the very expensive basic industrial capacity has been destroyed.
Yes.
In the war. And there's not a winner there.
And that was a huge part of the income for Ukraine. From the eastern Ukraine was a lot of the industrial stuff.
And Russia has lost a lot too. A lot of the capacities there on Crimea have been our naval yards and production capacity and all that. And it's all been under attack. It's all, so much of it has been degraded and destroyed. It's just horrible stuff.
Trump was very quick when he first became president to say that Ukraine doesn't have any bargaining chips and they need to just let Russia have what they have and we can call it.
Well, and that's changing. It appears.
Of course it's changing. And Erdogan has said, look, Crimea belongs to Ukraine.
Erdogan came out and said that?
Months ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
I missed it.
Yeah. And it belongs to Ukraine. And at one time it was Turkey.
Yes.
Before Russia took it over.
But Russia conquered that area, like 1790 or something. I mean, it's quite a few years ago. It's like 250 years ago.
Right. But Erdogan came out and said that, which, it makes me wonder, who's this guy with? I mean, I don't know at times.
I don't know, but I know that he has moved more and more toward fundamental Islamic interpretations of things in Turkey.
Yeah, but he's helping Ukraine. It wants to be a Western country.
He's playing power politics.
I don't know. I don't know how it all makes sense, but somehow he seems to be very successful with it. And it's still a focal point of a lot of issues.
If I were in Turkey, I would not want him to be my ruler, but Turkey used to have a reasonably sort of strong democracy. They had fairly strong institutions, and Erdogan is just destroying all of that.
I'd take him over any of the Ayatollahs.
Probably.
But I thought that that added a new complexity to it that I just didn't know or understand.
Well, yes, I think you're absolutely correct. And I'll still probably watch the video, but it echoes a lot of what I'd been reading.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're familiar with it. Also have a story here on the Khomeini, who is in charge, but nobody's seen him.
Well, he has the title of being in charge.
Yeah. In fact, some have theorized that he probably died, but people say they talk to him just so they do so with
all this reporting out of the middle of a war.
Yeah.
The first casualty is truth, so we don't know.
Doesn't mean anything. But right now they're saying that the Khomeini is going to have to approve the final deal with the U.S. That's what takes his time because it's done through secret couriers of network of secret couriers.
I saw this
because he has to remain hiding because he is a designated target by United States and Israel.
See, that's just
which
another way
it could be true.
It's not impossible.
We don't know. There's a Dr. Omar Mohammed that is involved in this article. I don't know exactly what he does for a living, but apparently very familiar with everything. He says Khomeini is a designated target, and every confirmed sighting is coordinated by them. I guess I don't know. They've ever sighted him. No one's seen him.
There was a cardboard cutout.
Yeah, that doesn't count. The courier system used for messages is not transitional. It is an operating system of his rule. Any deal with the United States signs will have to be designed for a permanently invisible counterparty whose enforcement depends on his continued survival.
You see, the problem with this report is it assumes things I don't know are true.
I don't know if he knows it.
It assumes that there is a central government operating in Iran. I
Right.
don't know that that's true.
No.
A lot of the evidence I see indicates the government is fractured.
Right.
The factions are not talking well to each other. They oppose each other.
But those that are speaking for are
In
saying
this case, and
yeah,
who's the
and they're-
report from?
Dr. Omar Mohammed.
Right, and where is it being reported? I mean,
Well-
what's the outlet?
Oh, Fox News. He called Fox News to tell
Oh,
them.
okay.
So he's, and I don't know if he's working with them or if he's just somebody that's a reporter. I don't know. Doesn't really say. He says that is not arms control as has been conventionally understood. It is a memorandum signed under American military pressure with a regime whose leader cannot show his face. So it sounds like no matter what they sign, they're going to say, "Well, we did it under distress anyway." I mean,
Well, of course, it's under distress. It's the whole idea.
but nobody.
That's what happens
Yes,
with
it
war.
is. But nobody trusts the Iranians anyway.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, and I don't. And Trump doesn't, Marco Rubio doesn't, but.
I'm sure they don't.
But these remarks from Mohammed came out after Marco Rubio explained to reporters in India why the deal was suffering delays. Rubio says it's just the response. I mean, when you get down on some of these things, you've got to hear back, and it takes the Iranians takes them a little while longer to get back. Well, Dr. Omar explains that is Secretary Rubio confirming the courier latency on the records. He's the director of Anti-Semitism Research Initiative Program on Extremism at George Washington University. So I guess he's an intellectual.
Okay.
Might have some understanding of the area, though. Rubio is describing a structural feature of negotiating with a supreme leader that no one can locate. So they say Khomeini is in hiding. Messages are moving by courier, and responses are arriving days late.
But again, this assumes that he has real power. He has some power,
Well,
but mostly he's a figurehead, it appears, and mostly a figurehead for the
we have no way,
IRGC,
but we have
and
no-
they don't have complete power either.
we have no way of knowing. We don't know.
Well,
And-
you and I don't.
No, I mean, I don't think the United States does.
Well, we have some. I presume, and because I've worked with these systems a little bit, I presume that our intelligence agencies have probably a better understanding of what's going on than we do.
Omar says that Rubio just confirmed the symptom, and the administration is being honest about the problem. The question is whether the framework can be designed to survive it. It's been 3 months of tensions with the U.S. He went underground February 20th. He was unconscious, probably.
Yeah, I mean, there have been a lot of reports that he is severely injured and may
And-
not be conscious.
Yeah, reports
and this report is framing him as in charge.
reports there that he's gravely injured during the Operation Epic Fury, wounded and likely disfigured. He lost his wife and his son were killed at the strike.
Right. And
Uh,
his father.
officials at the highest level of the Iranian government do not know where he is.
There you go.
Apparently, there's only certain people that do, but many of the officials in the government don't.
Well, see, again, this frames it as there is a functioning government.
And then somebody could just be saying, "I'm talking to him every day," and he doesn't
Well,
exist. Who knows?
I disagree with the assumption that there is a functioning government in Iran.
I think that's correct. I mean, because it's disjointed. We don't know who's in
Well, that's
charge.
right. It's fractured, fragmented. I mean, and we see this because we get several different responses.
So why is Rubio and Trump still continuing to waste their time?
They're not?
I don't
They're
think
they're
they're
because
working on the other countries.
what you want is sure they're working not only on the other countries, but you want is a functioning government that they can actually deal with.
Right.
And so they're working to get the functioning government in Iran that will deal with us.
And I guess they're trusting Pakistan to be able to help locate
Well,
that.
maybe. I mean, there's so many different
Pakistan's
ways.
an
that you-
intermediary
there's
there.
many different ways this can happen. One is by uniting all of their neighbors and to be a unified force against them
Right.
that will favor a certain kind of government over what currently existed when we did the strike.
That's the better answer.
Well, it's one of them. And the others is the threat of disintegration or balkanization of Iran as other factions within Iran want to separate, the Kurds being the most prominent. There's the internal strife within Iran of low-level warfare degrading the political structure even more,
Right.
so that somebody takes over who's more friendly to us. There's several
Well,
different possibilities.
I really thought that this ceasefire would only last a few weeks, and and they would just go ahead and destroy the infrastructure, which I know Trump is hesitant to do. He'd like for Iran to come out of this and be productive quickly,
Yes,
with some common sense leadership. It's not trying to destroy everybody.
With leaderships that will acknowledge reality.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's talked much about, but they need to make sure that Hezbollah and Houthis no longer exist.
Yes. I mean, there's always going to be somebody with a computer that can say, I am Hezbollah.
But they don't need to be well funded.
Right.
And they don't need to have armies.
Exactly.
And that's what Iran has afforded them.
That's correct. I mean, Iran has been the biggest sponsor of terrorism in the world for decades.
Right. Rubio said there's going to be a deal. We're going to have to work through that. But this is, it's either going to be a good deal or there isn't going to be one.
Right. Exactly. And that's what you
and
can
we need
do.
to stick to that.
That's what you can do from a position of strength. And we have shown the world and Iran that our military power far exceeds their ability to defend against it.
I think the strength is defined in a few ways. One is the strength is military, then obviously we've got that. The other strength is patience. The other strength is willing to take it on the chin a little bit, like the oil prices going up and stuff like that. And that's very hard because we have a restless population that's not going to put up with it for very long. And I mean, politically,
it's double-edged.
Yeah.
Yes, the prices are very high right now.
Yeah, they are high.
But that also means that once you get a resolution, they will fall very fast.
Yes, I think so. But the key is there to have some. And Iranians know it. They all know it. I mean, they're not stupid to this. I mean, they understand our political system,
right,
it can be swayed easily. I mean, we didn't turn off our internet. We do have more freedoms of speech.
Well, that's all true. But the Iranian position has its own time limits because production is going up in other places.
They have time limits because they don't have food.
Well, yes. The internal pressures are growing on them more than in ours because although gasoline is high, the supermarkets are still full.
Yeah. And they're more resilient because there's a gun pointed at them from the ruling class that you can't protest, you can't complain about it, live with it.
Right. Yes, exactly. It's a difference between a free population relatively and a highly controlled population.
Yeah. I don't know where it's going to break.
Well, I look at Trump's track record, and in my opinion, he's been extremely effective in virtually everything he has done. He's gotten this cadre of unbelievably talented people around him who support him, nearly 100%. And he's doing amazing things that other American presidents have never felt they had the capability to do.
Right. I think any other president, and I can't think of one that wouldn't right now, but would have signed anything to get that straight open and improve their image.
Don't know. Maybe.
Well, look what Obama agreed to stuff. And
Obama, in my opinion, worked hard at destroying the United States.
Yeah, well.
So sure, he would have done that. He gave the Iranians billions of dollars. He gave them a nuclear deal that practically guaranteed their ability to build a nuclear weapon.
And Reagan sank half their Navy in the 80s over that strait and all that other stuff. And Iran, stopped it, before they lost the rest of the Navy.
One of the biggest differences is that under Reagan and anybody after, say, about 74, we were reliant on foreign oil.
Yeah, we were.
We're not anymore.
True. And that does make
And that makes a huge difference.
it makes a difference, but we're reliant politically on oil prices being down, and it was promised by Trump.
Well, right. So
And he's got to get it back down. And
I think it's going to happen.
but that's a
personally.
political move, not a necessity move. We can
Um,
go to the pumps and get oil. We can get gas. That's not a problem.
in
It's just
my
expensive.
opinion, Trump is looking at the American first in a very clear and logical way.
Yeah.
And he has to balance whether the potential of loss in the midterms would hurt America more than the potential loss of American prestige and ability in the Middle East.
I believe that to be true.
And he will take.
He'll sacrifice himself to help America.
I think that's exactly
He'll sacrifice the next 2 years of having to put up with a
in order to
impeachment
in order
to help America.
to stop this 47-year conflict we've had in the Middle East, where Iran is, if they gain a nuclear weapon, they very likely would use it on us and Israel.
I think he would. I'm out of time. Unfortunately.
That happens.
We got to go. Dean, thank you so much. I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Mortgage One Studios.